Hello, everybody. We're playing the waiting game. Mama's doing something. I just want people to know that,
muted me like some kind of butt heart.
well, as far as I could see, your name had the mute symbol beside it, and what that means is that you muted yourself.
But I didn't leave the page, so how would I have done that exactly?
Maybe you set a hotkey, because all I know is for sure, for sure, you were muted. No guests to start. We're doing guests as we go through. First episode's just the two of us. We're just hanging out. It's gonna be a casual one. Well, not necessarily casual, but like
it's not gonna be casual.
Give me a second, Mom. Give me a second. I decided to bite into my chocolate while on mic.
With.
Anyone got misophonia?
Yes.
Who were you chit-chatting with? Was it Melanie on her stream?
I did. I went and chatted with Melanie on her stream. And apparently she and her humans were talking about us yesterday and talking about how we should get together soon just to hang.
We should get together to hang. Guys, I gotta clean my set. Look at the mess. Look at the mess here. This Sanji fell over. This Brook fell over. Well, he's a Vanderbilt. This deck with a Bulbasaur on it wasn't in the deck box spot. My Gum fruit was way over here. My Opie fruit was way over here. Silly snowman not standing.
This is really messy. You know what you should do?
Clean it?
The 10-second tidy.
That's what we're doing on stream. You guys, I'm actually... This is called body doubling. Everyone do a 10-second tidy with me of your space. I'm body doubling. This isn't me. This isn't me suddenly being embarrassed by my set not looking good. This is a service I'm providing as a streamer. Part of the stream today is body doubling so that you can tidy with me. Mm-hmm.
It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. I just realized we should have a show intro for the YouTube video. Wait, we have
a show intro,
but it doesn't. It's built around guests.
Okay, but I still think we do it today.
You think we do it today? I think we do it today also.
I also think that I open it the way that I want to.
Oh, I don't know what that means, but I think we can do that. No Berserk, never Berserk. When is there? What even is Berserk? Who's Berserk? Is that Mr. Guts?
Tell them when Berserk is first before we move on.
Berserk from now on will be the first stream of every month.
He's super organized at like people who organize things. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Wait.
We're about to have
I gotta check
guests
something.
on. What?
It's important.
What is it?
Okay. Trump has yet to decide if we're going to be declaring the Insurrection Act today, because today was the day where it's going to happen if it is, which means it is Happy Easter and 420. It was just also possibly an Insurrection Act day, which would supersede those. So I just wanted to make sure that hadn't happened so that it's Happy Easter and 420.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay. So we had a big talk about it. We've decided we're going to go back through. We're going to call it. So let me do my welcome. Are you ready? Welcome to Tinfoil Talk.
Welcome to Tinfoil Talk.
This is the place we go to rehash people's favorite arcs and put our tin hats together to find the truth.
And I think it's essential that this arc is where we're starting off without a guest. So we're starting off with just the two of us. Why is that? Well, I think we'd struggle to find someone who would call this their favorite, first of all. But what is this arc? Is this the one where a boy breaks out of a bubble and makes everybody's employer think that they're slacking on the job by shouting that I just had a great nap?
No, this is the one where a boy hangs out with a mountain gorilla and then it eats a man's arm.
Oh, is this the one where there's like a 10-page backstory dedicated to a child with deadly weapons making a promise to his friend who then dies of off-screen accident?
It might be, but I thought this was the one where a kid who can't swim eats a fruit that makes him not swim.
It is, and then says, I'm gonna drown because I can't swim. Oh wait, I'd drown anyways, it's a whirlpool. So there is twice where him being unable to swim is irrelevant and him being unable to swim.
I thought this is the one where he met a dude who decided he loved chopping firewood so much he turned his hand into an axe. So, hey, do you want to hear something crazy that I think is going to color a lot of this series going forward as we do our second read through? I didn't start reading the manga until I caught up with the anime because I was a teenager and had time, and also had never read a manga before, so I didn't realize how different it was. I didn't really know what manga was. Frankly, I was a dumb teenager who didn't know what was happening, and I just was like, what a great story. And I've gone back and reread a couple arcs. I've reread Thriller Bark, I've reread Skypia, but a lot of the arcs in One Piece, I haven't actually ever read the manga. I've read key sections when we were about to go over it to refresh myself, but front to back, most arcs from before from before Dressrosa, I haven't read. Now, this must have been surprising to you because it's so different.
It's so different. This stretch in particular, I noticed a lot of little things. This is so much more brutal than the anime. Guys, anime viewers, Did you know that Kobe got shot?
Yep. Did you not know
Anime
that?
viewers don't know that Kobe got shot, dude.
Oh, yeah. And also that a dude got just shot in the head and blood went boom, flew into the air, and then he dropped to the ground.
Well, that actually does happen in the anime. The guy getting shot, it's less bloody. It's more like, ooh, black silhouette. But like, I didn't realize Kobe got shot. If people don't know about this, it's not just that Kobe had a gun pointed at him because you're like, oh, that's just the 4Kids dub. No. Separately, when Kobe was untying Zoro in the anime, Morgan was like, they're untying the Zoro. Someone go stop him. In the manga, he was like, okay, some guys go stop him. Everybody else, shoot him. And they all shot at him, and one of the bullets fucking hits him.
Yeah, he gets winged.
It's crazy. Skypia is clearly when Oda decided to initialize more the grander story. Kick it off, Jaya. Jaya is when he decided, which I guess is the Skypia saga, but Jaya is definitely when he decided to kick off the big story. But I think you can actually start to notice how many of the little big story... We have a hype train that's crazy. Thank you for subbing, people. Thank you for gifting a sub, Haberfax. Thank you for resubscribing with Prime, Mountain Ash Tree. Guys, I'm seeing that there was more vision for what One Piece was going to be than we assumed very, very early on.
What are you talking about? I told you that so long ago.
Yeah, but that was like East Blue Part 2. I'm saying Romance Dawn, you can start to see the little hints of it.
Right away when I started reading again, I said to you, holy shit. Once you've read ahead and you know, then it's just basically a big open book.
The idea that the original outline ended with Alabasta is actually pretty incorrect, because originally the warlords weren't even a thing. It was going to be a story about the Yonko. The original, like, post deciding to do the warlords to build time and hype for the Emperor so that the world could be grander outline, from what I understand, did end at Alabasta, which is probably why we got the hints of the Emperors, the original story, after Alabasta was over. That's my thinking. But yeah, this series gets better in rereads. It really does. The original was that Crocodile was an emperor, right? I hadn't heard that. That might be conjecture people have said. There might be backing to it, but I'm not aware.
I've made a choice, PSS.
What's that?
No, I don't know if I'm going to tell you yet. It's just, I don't know if I talked about it. About the Straw Hat. I might have. Sometimes I forget what I've talked about.
Okay, you can talk. Talk to me about the missing. Talk to me about Straw Hat. Whoa, hype train's begun, guys. Thank you so much. Oh, that's my wife, your morally ambiguous waifu. Thank you for giving out a sub to the community. That's so lovely. Thank you for resubscribing, Dr. Jax. Dr. Jax, by the way, isn't modding tonight because busy. We'll be checking in every once in a while. You thought the original emperors were Shanks, Crocodile, Whitebeard, Kaido? I have never heard that. If that's true, well, I'm gonna you do your research. I'm gonna fact check that because I don't want to repeat what Chad is saying.
What research?
If Crocodile was supposed to be an emperor, because that's what someone's saying.
Oh.
In early drafts.
I just wanted to tell a thing. I'll wait.
No. You do your thing. You do your thing. I'm just Googling while you do that.
Yeah. That's not a real thing. Whoa. Hype
Okay, it
training.
looks like there's no evidence towards it. There is just conversations about having had a story draft that included Crocodile and that the original story was about the Empress. My take is it's easier to assume that Crocodile was inserted where he thought an emperor might be, a Kaido-like figure who ruled over a kingdom with an iron fist, maybe, and Crocodile took what he figured that part of the story would be, and then when the warlords were meant to be introduced, it was redrafted. That's my take of the easiest way to fit those pieces together. Dexter320, thank you for subbing with Prime. All right, tell me about a hat. Tell me about a hat. I'm going to be doing my warm-ups. You tell me about a hat.
Okay, just as a pop-off.
Yeah.
I first want to tell people what we're going to be doing in these in the future.
What are we going to be doing?
So the whole purpose of this, as you know, is we're going to be going through with a bunch of different creators, seeing who wants to come on live with us to tin piece and put their tin hats together. And they're going to pick their favorite arcs and they're going to tell us, or I think sometimes it won't necessarily be their favorite arc and favoritville. I think some of them will do us a solid and pick an arc they otherwise might not have picked if we've got things filled in. But
So,
here on
I mean,
Tin
yeah,
Piece,
that's blunt, but yeah.
Here in Tin Piece, we enjoy it when people work along.
Tin Piece. We're not going tinfoil piece. I didn't know what to put in the preview, so I just kind of did what.
It could be
I'm
called
tired.
Tinfoil Piece, or it could be called Tin Piece.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then the whole purpose is then we're going to go back through it and see when we put our tinfoil hats together what craziness we can come up with to figure out what things we missed the first time and what hints might be in there that we can now find the goddamn One Piece.
We're going to find the fucking One Piece. We're going with guests. We want to appreciate the series more deeply. We want to have more perspective, and we want to find the One Piece. That's the goals. Your favorite arc is Egghead? Cool kids. Way to have great taste.
And so that's the first part. The second part is today we decided we were going to start together the way that we started this journey out in the beginning. And we've been asked by a lot of people because they've missed it, I guess, or feel like we never really went into it. I don't know. How I got into One Piece, how Drawk convinced me, how the show idea first started, and why I was finally convinced, because Drawk pointed out the other day to me that, yeah, there was a succinct moment where he convinced me, so we're going to get into that. And then we're going to go through Romance Dawn together, just the two of us, and then from now on, we'll be inviting people to come along on the journey.
That is a very, very good description. Can we do a bit of our we kind of jumped into doing the show. Can we do a bit of our preamble? Because there's something funny in my morning that I wanted to talk about briefly before we get to the real show.
Yeah, we have to do preamble, but I was forgetting the one most important thing that I was about to tell them about our journey.
Can amble.
So what is it that Drawk will be drawing? You're wondering if we're doing this strange thing with people? Thank you for asking that very important and wonderful question. This is why you're the squishies. In the beginning, before we interview somebody, we're going to ask them, in this arc, if you were to put together or idealize a tattoo, what would it look like and what would it be? And then Drawk is going to make that tattoo for them.
I just need to point out, Puna in chat is Green Entertainer's mom, who got into One Piece because of Green Entertainer. I didn't know that. That's awesome. That's radical. That's radical, dude. Hell yeah.
That's so cool.
Hey, sorry, someone else's mom. I'm gonna curse a lot. If you haven't been around a lot.
My mom.
The hype train has ended. We reached level 2. Thank you guys so much. With not available, not percent. Wow.
That is so awesome. I'm so excited that we have your mom on and that we have you here. And cussing is a problem. There's nothing I can do for it.
Yeah, sorry. That's how it be. They said they're okay with it though. I always default to they, but I think if someone's described themselves as a mom, I could probably safely default to she. Although it is a shame we don't have like a gender neutral like parental noun, huh?
Yeah, like a non gender based parental noun.
Like parent sounds, guys, like, you have to, no. You are all saying parent as though that's not like a really awkward thing to say in a sentence. I'm their parent is a weird thing to say. It comes across
DNA
weird.
is DNA folk, but if you say an
But
individual
that's plural,
folk,
folks. You say that, you don't say that's my folk. You say these are my folks. It's plural.
that's what I said.
Guardian comes across like you're not related, guys. There, and that actually sounds more awkward than parent.
I've got it. DNA contributor.
I can't be it.
What are you talking about? It's perfect. There's two DNA contributors. You don't know which one it is. No judging.
Oh man. Okay, so my morning,
All
I
right,
had the expectation. I had a
today?
plan. Wait, they did IVF, so DNA contributor's accurate. That's actually very funny that fucking
That's amazing.
The fact that that's specifically accurate is crazy. Can't believe you got them on side with DNA contributor. Wow. Okay.
I'm sorry, I was correct. I was correct all along.
Guys, because we only had to read 7 chapters, instead of reading ahead of time like I'm planning to do for future ones, I decided to read day of. And my plan was I was going to go to the lake with my puppy dog. He was going to run around and be a scrambly cutie. Don't do a Bellamy thing today. He's going to be going to... I turned them off anyways because he hasn't wanted to hang out in this room. He liked my old office better. I don't know why. I haven't put a bed in here. That's why. He gets scared when I move my chair if he doesn't have a bed because he thinks I'll run over his paws. It's very sad. Anyways, I went to the lake and my expectation was I'm going to crack my books open. I'm going to read One Piece by the lake and I'm going to sit there sipping my Tim Hortons tea. My dog's going to run around. It's going to be great. I have my Tim Hortons tea.
This really feels like a very Canadian moment.
Yeah. I have my dog. I have my books, right? And my boy, is running around and I'm happy. And then it starts to rain a little bit and I take off my jacket and wrap the books up and I start reading on digital. And then I get like literally 4 pages in and he's scrambling around by some kid's fishing rod. And I go, hey bud, come on, don't do that. He is like, cool, I'm going to be a good dog and come to my dad. And he kicks off so hard that he sends the kid's fishing rod flying down the rocks, doesn't go into the water. However, it collided and knocked the kid's tackle box into the water. So now, be me, 30-year-old man, fully dressed, walking into the lake to go pick a kid's tackle box off the bottom of the lake, soaked up to the bottom of my rib cage, fully drenched. I don't want to get my shoes all wet, so I'm walking barefoot back to my house through the gravel afterwards to go have a shower and rinse the lake water off. I got to get changed. It's hilarious, but also all of my reading time was taken by the detour of fully dressed wading into the lake to grab this kid's tackle box. I didn't get everything. I got most of his stuff. Luckily, his hooks were in a little plastic bag, so it was floating at the top. That was easy to grab. There was one of his lures was a floating lure with 2 triple hooks hanging off it. And I was like, I have to get that. So I'm like wading as deep as I can get to go grab that one. A bunch of the little rubber bait, the rubber worms. Sorry, guys, I have littered today. I wasn't swimming. I wasn't swimming in my full ass cotton pants. That's not the mood. So there are some rubber worms that have escaped captivity.
That's a sad and happy story. A little column A, a little column B.
You say no treats, but I'd already given him Tim Hortons bacon, so it's too late.
Drawk literally pulls up to Tim Hortons and is like, yo, how's it going? Just give me an order of a bunch of bacon for my pup.
No. I order an extra large steep tea with 1 cream and a side of bacon for my dog.
I know. What's funny about it is that you're a pescatarian.
Yeah, but my dog's not.
Yeah.
Look. Feeding your dog without contributing to the meat industry is kind of hard.
It is kind of hard. On a minor note.
Yeah.
In the rambles section.
Yeah.
I'm at my cabin right now. Remember, we have a rustic ass cabin on a little island.
We are very fortunate, yes.
that we inherited. I mean, fortunate and not fortunate. I'm not gonna lie. Inheriting something from people who should still be alive has an unfortunate part.
It's a mixed situation where we are financially well off in a way that we probably shouldn't be, given like the careers all of us work, because we had an advantage. And the advantage was my rich grandparents died really young, so we got inheritance. So we are fortunate, but all of us would rather, you know, have them around than money. It's a situation. It's hard to, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gave like a great googly moogly amount of it away, though.
They did. It's just they had enough that it still set us up much better than
but it set us up because we have a cabin, and who's lucky enough to have a rustic cabin on a little island? But more importantly, in this case, that's why you hear less good quality mama audio today.
Yes, I will say. So it is a rustic cabin, but I think calling it rustic is very funny because cabins on this island, if they are by the seaside, which it is, tend to be examined for tax purposes from boat because it's cheaper than sending tax guys down each of these private roads, right? Because it's on an island. So it used to be a rustic looking cabin, and then the family painted it yellow. It looks less rustic.
Yellow and white.
Yellow and white. And the next time the boat guy came by, he appraised it for being worth like 50% more, and the tax rates shot the fuck up.
Literally 50% more.
He was like, oh, this isn't shitty green anymore. This is bright, happy canary yellow. Same fucking cabin otherwise. And they're like, bright, happy yellow cabin is worth 50% more.
Nothing changed. No updates. Nothing.
No, one thing changed. The guest cabin off to the side, which is a little shack, was completely destroyed and infested with otters. So a piece of the property was unusable. So the change was a piece of the property was unusable, and then it became worth 50% more because it was a pretty yellow color instead of a putrid green.
So ridiculous. So ridiculous.
Realtors when the bathroom is blue too.
The otters took over.
2 otters? Yeah, otters can be pets, it turns out.
They came and turned the little mini cabin into an otter orgy, and an otter died in there, and it's not good.
It basically comes across like an otter crack house where they partied too hard and one of them died and then they all abandoned it. Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. Okay, but here's the next thing. So we come to the cabin. We haven't been here in a while. We look over at the side of the property, and this huge tree that's like, well, you guys don't know this so I'll try to convert it in my brain from meters to feet. It's got to be somewhere around 7 feet in diameter, maybe a little more. This huge tree in a storm fell, landed across our neighbor's beach. Our neighbor doesn't have a beach anymore. It's a tree. And the Adirondack chairs that Drawk's grandparents left there flew over the top when the roots came out and went for a long sail into another neighbor's yard. So I don't even know how high in the air they must have been. And then we looked it up because we were like, oh my God, how long do we have to get rid of this tree? And what is our responsibility for this giant ass tree? And we found out the most unfair thing ever.
Okay.
If the tree wasn't unhealthy, and so it appeared to be fine, and it was, then it's not our fault because we are not responsible for trees falling in storms. And so it is now the duty of the person whose land it laid on to get rid of the tree.
So a tree on your property, because it wasn't unhealthy, so there wasn't like an expected risk for you to take care of it, got blown so hard over that it entirely covers the neighbor's property. And and the government is like, I mean, deal with it yourself.
Yeah, basically the government agreement is, well, it's not your neighbor's fault their tree fell over in a storm. You have to get rid of it. That's your fault. Which I really feel
that probably means they own the wood at least.
I'm thinking I want to take it because
you put this house on the tree's trajectory. You can't take it unless you're willing to get rid of it, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it into floor planks. How hard can that be?
Incredibly, do you know the mechanism of that mills needed to develop a half gear to be able to build the saws to cut beams that big into straight
Nope,
planks?
pretty easy, I think.
No. Do you know what a
Yeah,
half gear is? Imagine inventing a half a gear. That's crazy.
It's almost too easy. Anyways, I've looked it up, and there's like 9 portable sawmills on the island.
I'm sorry, there's 9 portable sawmills on
Vancouver Island.
Oh, Vancouver Island. I thought you meant the little island where the cabin is.
Oh, God, no. God, no.
That would, because then I'd be like, what the fuck? Well, no, of course there's 9 portable. No, people might not know this. Of course there would be portable sawmills. Do you guys know? Vancouver Island, the island we live on, actually produces a shit ton of the wealth of British Columbia, which per capita is one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest province. I think Alberta fights us for that because of the oil industry. But whenever there's a recession, oil becomes less valuable and Alberta's economy suffers. They thrive when it's well. British Columbia tends to do pretty well all the time. So Vancouver Island produces a ton of the value in British Columbia. The reason Vancouver Island produces so much value is our forests. Because we're in a rainforest, so our trees grow really fast. You might say, well, so is Vancouver, right? Sure, but Vancouver has a couple big rivers instead of a lot of small rivers. So it's not cheap to transport logs to the ocean the way it is on Vancouver Island for most forests. You have to drive the logs a long distance before they're in the water. Whereas there's so many little rivers on Vancouver Island that getting logs to the ocean is really cheap and it's less mountainous. You look at this, it's so fucking sick. If you look at satellite time lapses of Vancouver Island, you see clear cuts appear constantly and be refilled within like 10 years. Like, just this island is being constantly extracted for wood and constantly growing new wood because the rainforest grows its trees so quickly. It's actually really cool.
Let's just say that Mountain Ash believes in me. And if Mountain Ash believes in me, I believe I can.
Mountain Ash, you take your side. You believe what you will.
Mountain Ash did. They believe in me. Me when I try to shave
Lumberjack Island, yes. If you've seen the Lumberjacks from Monty Python, they mention British Columbia. And that riding logs down the river thing isn't just a British Columbia thing. That's like very specifically common on Vancouver Island because the rivers in the mainland of BC are too big for that kind of lumberjack culture to have been as common.
Best video ever, by the way. And now I have the song in my head. Thanks a lot, Drawk.
You're a lumberjack and it's okay?
No, not that one. There's a video where a lumberjack rides a log down a river and then it turns into a cartoon and he sings this song and it's all about driving down white waters and falling in love with a lumberjack.
Okay. Anyways, that's basically our island was like the main source of that mythos of that culture because it was so fucking easy to just clear cut a forest, load it in the river, move on to the next one. It'll grow back within 10 years.
Mountain Ash is definitely Canadian. Oh,
you don't know that.
The log driver's waltz pleases girls completely. That's exactly what it is. Yes, guys.
Okay.
The log driver's waltz.
I don't know what this is, but people are enjoying it in chat. Should we get to One Piece now? Your grandpa was a log driver as a kid? That's radical. You have a theory. Okay, ready? In BC is... Well, no, their granddad was. We don't know if they were. Ready?
So cool. Here's my theory that I just want to say randomly.
Yeah.
Oh, I like those. One of them kind of looks like a friend of mine. It's the person in the middle.
They're gone.
Yeah, that... You didn't even let me look at it long enough. Oh, there.
All right. It did. Look, I got rid of it. It's just the practice. It's just the warm-up.
But that looks like my friend.
Okay. Well, it's just a warm-up guy.
It looks if my friend looked a little different, but it kind of looks like him.
Your friend's a shroom?
No, not
that's
the shrooms guy. Or maybe it is the shrooms. Oh my God, what if I'm on shrooms and that's why my friend looks that way?
I'm dying here.
Is it because I'm so hilarious and you get to be my
That's true.
son?
That's why.
I'm
no,
sorry,
it's because I'm very
tired of my DNA.
No, it's because I'm very tired because our healthcare system's really good.
That sweet cabin pipe. Here's my theory.
Something important. I need to actually take a break to send money to a plumber real quick, because if I don't do it now, I will forget, and I do need to pay my contractors.
Oh, Drawk needs a plumber because his plumbing was bad.
Genuinely, the plumbing here is not great.
No. It started raining so rainy. You know the kind of rain that happens in BC that it almost looks like the rain itself is trees? That it's like the rain is a feature. It almost feels physically present. I don't know how to say it.
Well, here's what's really cool is I think you are on shrooms, actually. I think you were right. I think you were right when you mentioned it.
Oh, sweet, sweet pipe. That's hilarious. I'm telling you, it is that kind of rain.
Hey guys,
And
fuck your president. My plumbing cost like $500 extra because of the tariffs.
That's not a lie. Okay, here we go. Are we ready? Steve.
Guys, I just remembered something before I'm ready. I was about to say, let's go. But I came up with something a couple months ago, and I do this every once in a while. It's really fun. Try this yourself. Make Mario noises, but just make them kind of wrong. And you might be like, what do you mean kind of wrong? Like, do the voice bad? No, do the voice as good as you can. But you know how there's a bunch of noises Mario makes? Like, wah-ha, yippee, woohoo, yip, wah, yahoo. Like, he does all those, right? Just do kind of the wrong sound. Yahoo, wahee, yippo, weehoo. See? It's great. It's unsettling. I love it. You just do Mario sounds, but you do the wrong sound.
Did you hear my snort, or does it get rid of my snort? A little bit of the snort
came through. Wappo! Yippo!
I feel so sad for the squishies because they've never got to hear the full Mama Drawk snort in her laugh because it always gets edited out.
Jelly Gremlin's like, those were all real sounds. Mario does not say wappo. He does not say yippoo. He does not say yee-hee. Those were all wrong. I think you don't remember what Mario does, Jelly Gremlin.
Yappana! Yuppoo!
That's it. Yeah. Yappoo, that's great. Weehoo! Yeehaw! Wow! Whoa!
All right, am I allowed to finally make my
now we can start.
Stupid theory?
Now we can start. Let's theorize. Actually, first tell me what tattoo you would get. We got to do the show problem. If you were to get a tattoo based off of Romance Dawn, what would you get? What would be your Romance Dawn tattoo?
Thank you for asking. I've been waiting for this question for so long. We're going to be doing this with people in the future.
We are going to be doing this with people in the future. Wait, we're people. We're doing it with people now. Well, I guess we're not doing it with people.
This time we're going to pretend I'm a people.
Mm. We're pretending that you're people. That's true.
Thank you. So I would have obviously Luffy's fruit, his gum fruit in it.
Okay.
And I would want the knife he stuck into his eyes in it.
Wait, sorry. Sorry, say this again.
What?
Say, so there's a fruit and then what's up?
Remember, you're supposed to make a list of the items.
Okay. I am a tattoo artist and I take lists properly because I'm good at what I do. Give me a second here. I'm so good. Fruit. Yeah. What's next on our list?
It's the fruit, the knife, the straw hat. It's so wrong that Luffy doesn't stab himself. It's such an important part.
Okay, what's next?
And then Shanks holding Luffy glaring at the sea monster. That's it.
These feel like difficult concepts to combine. I will endeavor to do my best. Buggy's nose, guys. We didn't do Orangetown. We just did Romance Dawn. Why do you think Buggy's invited? Someone gave Green Entertainer tier 1 sub. Thank you, anonymous gifter.
That's kind. Somebody gave me a sub today when I was on Melon Teas.
That's cool about the vibe you present is I feel like the vibe you give off in the community, you are so likely to get gift subs.
Why?
You just have that air.
That's a weird thing to say. I'm not sure.
Tell me I'm wrong, chat.
That's a weird thing to say. Oh. Well, somebody gifted me one and I was like, oh, that's sweet. Thank you. I have raccoon girl energy. That is not a lie. That is full truth. I've been told that. I've been
this
given
is so easy other than Shanks holding Luffy. You're like, here's 3 objects and a scene.
Well, you know what? Instead of holding Luffy, you can have him holding him in front of the giant gum fruit.
You get out of here. I'm deciding what I'm doing.
Or affirming. That's funny.
I'm figuring it out.
When I was on the thing, the reason was is she asked me a question, and then I went into ad hell, and it was the most ads you've ever seen. It was on ad 5, and
I love that the amount of ads is entirely inconsistent. Like it's just like whatever.
It's so inconsistent, and I was there desperately trying to find the way to purchase for her show, and it was only letting me do it for all of Twitch, and I was like, I just want to do it for her show. And it was like, no, bite me. And then somebody gifted me a sub when I came back, and we're like, no more ads for you, mama. And I very much appreciated it. Okay, ready? Here's my small little...
again, Buggy's not here, guys. There's no Orange Town. It's just Romance Dawn. We're just doing up the Shells Town.
Dawn, guys.
I feel bad because I realized the person I was shouting at is Green Entertainer's mom, and something does actually feel worse about shouting at someone that I know is someone's mom.
Feel bad about yelling at a mom. Be a nice kid.
Isn't that weird that like any other chatter, I'm like, I'll yell at you people. I love you, but you get yelled at, and then it's a mom, and I'm like, I feel weird about that actually.
You should feel weird about it. Again. Okay, listen to me. You're the only
mom I yell at.
You know what I think is going to happen is I'm going to talk about how I have a small prediction for 45,000 years. And then it's
funny at this point. Yeah, go for it. What's up?
It's like on that talk show. I can't remember which one it was, but they always had a guest that they would say, and then this guest is going to come on. And then every night they would be like, oh, we've run out of time. And sorry to so-and-so, we'll get to you next time.
They did that bit on Hello from the Magic Tavern where every time there was an episode that got canceled or got like interrupted by a special, we're actually seeing it from the villain's perspective or anything like that, it was the unicorn dentist. And they talked all the time about how the unicorn dentist was their favorite guest, and they never made an actual episode with the unicorn dentist. Thought that was a great bit. Icy Knives, thank you for gifting subs. They gifted a tier 1 sub. Oh, it's a Green Entertainer's mom, Puna. Puna. Is Puna okay? Because like is that a word that means something, or am I okay to say that? Because Punaho. I'm not good at pronouncing things. I'm not good at it. Do you want to do your theory? Punaho's a school in Hawaii. Are you there still? You muted. Oh no, Mama Drawk's muted. Oh no.
It muted me again.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're back.
Why does it do that?
Oh, the bottom of the overlay hasn't been updated. No, that's not intentional. I just sometimes forget one of the steps.
I don't know why.
And my keyboard's not working. Wow.
Anyways, yeah, Drawk is a professional mom yeller.
I'm a professional mom yeller. It's what I'm here for.
He yells at moms all the time. He yells at me nonstop, and I am his DNA contributor. All right. Here's my small prediction before we get into this.
Yeah.
The Straw Hat is filled with hockey of some sort, and it is going to be a catalyst for the last major events.
You are crazy.
No, I'm right.
You're crazy.
The reason there's 2 straw hats and they are so important is the straw hat is more than a straw hat. The straw hat is filled with hockey.
Look, you could be right, but I need more than that could be true to go on board with that, you know?
I'm just saying that when I went back to the beginning and started reading, and yes, exactly, you saw what happened in the knot. And we
I
started
saw the
reading
knot.
again.
You can't untie a hat. Because you can unweave a hat.
First of all, it's bullshit. It's woven. You can. As a person who's made cedar hats,
okay, but would then every weave have haki in it? And if that's the case, that'd be really fucking cool.
Exactly. Every weave has haki. It's made with haki.
That would be actually sick as fuck. Hat has also been stabbed before, and
not a big deal. It has to come off in a specific way. The haki has to be initiated by it comes off from the beginning and it gets unraveled. Every weave has haki. Yeah. So as I was reading it, I was thinking, so strange that the straw hat becomes so important right in the beginning of this piece again. And I was like, why dude make so much hatness? Why are we hatting so much right away? And then I started to think about all the things that the hat goes through and what it represents and what happens to him and how it starts off with Shank, and then when he is leaving him, how he immediately is like, no, you're gonna take this hat. And I'm like, why is he giving him this hat? And then I was like, well, the hat itself could be something that's protecting. The hat itself could be something that is has a power of its own within it, or a force within its own. And I was like, after all those years of wondering if haki can be in anything, and we found out that, yeah, it can be added to weaponry, it can be put into a knot, etc. I was like, if we were shown that it was put inside specifically string, a knot, a rope, then of course that kind of also comes over to a hat that's made out of string, that's roped together, that's woven. So yeah, that's my little minor prediction that has not to do with knot. It was just a thought.
I don't not feel it. It makes sense to me. And it would be the most badass thing in the world if, as every weave was undone, more and more haki was released. That'd be awesome. I also just like the idea that the hat carries a little bit of the will of all the people who've held it, because it represents inheritance of ideals. The handing over the hat to me felt significant because of Shanks and Buggy's conversation and Buggy's flashback, where we find out the reason Buggy is the way he is, I know I said we're not talking about Buggy, but unfortunately now we are. I lied. I've lied to everyone.
You somebody's mom. It was.
I did.
And now here we are.
I did. And now we're going to talk about Buggy, but we're talking about future Buggy. We're talking about Egghead Buggy, where we see Buggy's true backstory, where he was mad at Shanks, not for stealing the whatever treasure or whatever bullshit or making him eat the fruit. The real reason he was angry with Shanks was that he believed in Shanks and felt like Shanks was abandoning his potential and abandoning what he owed Roger of being the next great pirate by saying, nah, I'm not going to do it. But to me, it felt like an acknowledgement where Shanks found who he was looking for. Now, I actually believe in the theory, whether it was a retcon or not, because I think it was a retcon because he originally didn't want Ace to be Roger's son. I believe in the theory that Shanks thought the Gum Gum fruit was for Ace. I think that's a retcon at this point, but I do think the Gum Gum fruit was supposed to go to someone important. And after Luffy ate it and seeing how he behaved and seeing him be like, I'm going to be greater than you, I'm going to be the one. I think that was him being like, you know what? I am betting on this kid. That is going to be the kid. The way that Kuma did when he showed up on this island when Luffy was like 16 and saw him training. That was this moment for Shanks of being like, I'm not the one. Buggy was wrong about me, but this is him. It's not Roger's son. That's not how this works.
I think that originally Luffy was supposed to be Roger's son. I think in his head. And I think it changed.
You think so? Interesting. Which I think for the themes of the series, it works better if inherited will isn't about that, isn't about bloodline.
Yeah, I agree. But I think when he first did it, he thought that Luffy was going to be Roger's son. And then I think
at the very least by Logtown, he changed that.
That's where I think it happened.
So you think by Logtown, he was like, wait, he can remind people of Roger, and then we see his real dad. And we're not going to say that's his real dad, but he can remind everyone in Logtown of Roger and still be someone else's kid, have his own destiny.
Because it would strengthen his idea about inherited destiny and inherited dreams. So I think that I saw that change later, because I think that the reason he gave it to him is the hat's going to end up being super important, super filled with haki, and is actually really powerful and protecting. And I think originally he might have thought that Luffy was Roger's kid, and he was like, it's meant to be with him, and if he feels the destiny to be the king of the pirates, I'm going to give him this hat as a protection, because I know I can't stop him, and I'm no longer going to be on this island and be able to help contribute to his safety. So the least I can do is offer him this hat, tell him how important it is, and that he needs to give it back to me one day, so he cares for it, doesn't lose it or hurt it, so it continues to protect him. And that's why, I guess it isn't apropos of nothing. I guess there was a reason I was thinking about it, and that is why I think that he gave it to him in this one. Yeah. Oh, and then this idea that Dancing Viru said, if I may augment your theory further, if that is true, then it is definitely a technique from Wano, since hat weaving is a thing there, and since there's a giant sword in Wano, the culture probably originated from ancient
and
giants.
Ace, the other choice of sun god, learned how to weave hats and struggled because of his sun powers.
Yes.
I know fire isn't sun, but like his best attack was named after the sun, and he used it against Blackbeard, and he was the other possible inheritor of the will. Everyone talked about how he could be the next one. Oh my god. I'm starting to believe there might be haki in this fucking hat. You're crazy. You're a lunatic.
Yeah, that's what I think. There's hack. I'm so excited that you're coming along for the ride now.
Look, I'm not, here's where I'm at. I think there's two levels of believing a theory. There's where I'm at with Hell Piece, where I'm like, I'm 100% in on this, and if I'm wrong, I'll be like, hey, I bet everything I had on it, and I stand by it. Then there's this, where I'm not betting 100% on it yet, but I'm going, I believe it enough that if it happens, I'm going to be like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah, you did see it.
Okay, so I just want to say something. I'm going to look and see, and I'm going to try not to manipulate it and be a historical person who manipulates it, but I'm going to look and see along the way what other clues are given. But already I kept thinking about the fact he never loses this goddamn hat, right? Like, think about how many people lose their hat, and a hat blows away all the time, and it's difficult to find, and they're in battle, and their hat is obviously destroyed or missing. But this hat, his intention with it, when he puts it places like on Nami's head and says, and puts it on and says, I'll be back, or the fact that he had never really lost it. Nothing bad had happened to it except for that one time that it got a hole, which allowed it to be repaired and have an intimate moment with a new crew member. So I was thinking about the next time, the only time we had him lose the hat is when he loses his brother. And Shanks can't bring back his brother, but he can bring back the hat.
Haki is tied to ambitions. Ambitions is tied to dreams. The hat is the will of Joy Boy. And early on, he's constantly almost dropping the hat. It's getting hurt and blowing away. But kind of as soon as he frees Nami's village, as soon as he frees his first kingdom from an oppressor, the hat is with him until he gets shaken and loses his dreams.
Exactly.
And holy shit, when is the next... It sticks to him. Once he becomes a liberator, once he beats Arlong, it sticks to him.
It stays with him and sticks to him because his dream is strong enough to keep the haki attached to him.
What's up? This is fucked. This is fucked up. It's not okay. Sorry, I'm looking for reference.
And so now I am convinced, as I was reading this and thinking into the future and looking at the past and the way it became something so important, I am convinced that originally Luffy might have meant to have been Roger's son, but originally Shanks felt like he was leaving Luffy all alone, and he couldn't stop the destiny of Luffy's dream to become the Pirate King, so he gave him this hat with haki, knowing that as Luffy's dream strengthened, so too did the protection of the hat to stay with his person, to help to give him luck and balance and move him forward more safely. And he made it be so important and was like, this hat means so much to me and you have to give it back to me one day. And we know it's not the end, and we know Luffy has so much growing to do, but that he's going to do it because first Shanks gives it back to him when he loses his brother? And second, how do we do the growing moment when Luffy is moving from old Luffy into I am going to be King Luffy? We see the hat sit on a rock in the changing seasons because Luffy realizes he has to grow as a man more, and when he is ready, he puts the hat back on and never loses it again.
Guys, so I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about Blackbeard scarring Shanks, and the fact that Shanks has these scars. There's clearly something planned here. The straw hat being a symbol of the sun and how it looks like an angelic halo from a lot of angles. We've already talked about how it probably, Luffy, whether or not he was going to literally be a sun god, was probably always meant, and I don't think he was always meant to literally be a sun god, because let's be frank, it really feels like for the first few chapters, Oda is still thinking of the gum gum fruit the same way he was thinking of it in the original Romance Dawn one-shots, where it's like, it's the fruit of the gum gum tree. It's the one magic fruit. And it feels like it genuinely took a couple chapters for him to be like, no, it's going to be boring if there's only one fruit. So I don't think originally it was meant to be the Nika fruit. I do think originally it was meant to be very special. And Oda at some point, actually, this is what I think happened, thinking about it. Because they're acting like it's the special devil-cursed fruit of the gum gum tree. And then after a few chapters, it's like, no, this is one of the devil fruits. And I think what had to happen in Oda's mind was he was like, this is special. How do I keep it being special if there's going to be other fruit? And that's how the idea of it having a secret name happened. Now, I think Luffy was meant to symbolically be a sun god regardless, especially because we begin the story talking about the Eastern Wind. It might be a translation issue, but it's translated the same way, and from what I understand accurately, in the Romance Dawn one-shots. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't have the Japanese, and I don't read Japanese. I still think Luffy literally becoming the sun god is fine, because he doesn't have sun powers. Sun god is a name given to a god of liberation and the new dawn. I think that's fine, to me. I understand the dislike. Anyways, thinking about this, I'm also thinking about now Blackbeard again because of the scars on Shanks's face, and we see Shanks as someone who is carrying on the symbol of the sun and just long enough to pass it on, and we see Ace as the potential other son. And I'm thinking about, like, I think there's going to be something connecting us to Shanks and Blackbeard and Elbaf right now. Sorry, I know this isn't Romance Dawn, but thinking about the symbology early on and Shanks' scar. Yeah, that's what you're right. That's why we're doing it. Think about it, right? Blackbeard gave Shanks the scars. I don't have any idea when, at some point when Shanks is becoming an emperor. But let's think about this, right? Fenrir ate the arm of what's his face? What's the name of the god? Norse mythology. Guys, you know the guy. You got arm et Tyr. Fenrir ate Tyr's arm, right? Shanks, people believe, because of a lot of different reasons, is tied to Norse mythology. He probably is meant to be a Tyr-like figure because, you know, by securing the future of the dawn of the world, he lost his arm by betting it on the future of the world. I'm finding myself thinking about the idea that obviously not the son of this Sea King, but Blackbeard being tied into Norse mythology as well now, because we know that Ace was supposed to be the alternate protagonist, the other potential son of this world. And Skull, Fenrir's son is the wolf who devours the sun in Norse mythology. And I know we keep talking about, like everybody's talking about Cerberus, but we've already seen Cerberus the demon now. Ace's fruit is the passing of a torch. Also true. There's fucking too much to this. It's killing me. But yeah, Skull being associated with Blackbeard is suddenly something I'm thinking about. God, sorry, rambly, but like there's so many mythologies you can point to.
What did that have to do with the hat? Did you just go off in a weird... I kept waiting for it to come
because
back.
I was thinking of the hat as a symbol of the sun, and like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was thinking of the hat of the symbol of the sun. I was thinking of Shanks's place representing Norse mythology, kind of being like this Fenrir, this Tyr figure, sorry. What did Tyr do?
Okay, so now I want to say something else. So
other than Fenrir.
Thinking of this, thinking of this whole wano thing, when we see Ace learning to weave a hat, and we think about the skills that were involved and how he made it for the for the continent Polar's son.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also supposed to be giving us clues about a couple of other things about how it lends strength, and that maybe a person with hockey doesn't know how to put it into things the way that they did then, but you could see how special and personal it was to him, and that Ace put some of his essence into that hat. So I think some of Ace's hockey is still in that dude's hat who died. So now I'm wondering where the shit that hat is.
Yeah. Maybe that first hat. Maybe that first hat wasn't Joy Boy's. Maybe that first hat was the original Nika, the original sun god. The big hat.
That's what I'm thinking it actually is now. Not Joy Boy, but the original Nika. And that it.
God, there's
and
so
now
fucking much.
The question became, who put hockey into that hat? Who wove it?
So, guys, I am looking at this. There are.
Hey, wait.
Yeah.
Wait, Green Entertainer said, so when we see the guy with the eye patch, it will be Odin. Were you not on when I said this? Good God, Green Entertainer.
Mama thinks Odin will be Odin. Mama thinks that Yamato will be Odin because we'll be Odin. Yes.
Is that underneath Israel, there is 3 wells. And I think the branches of the Israel's roots go so far that some of them are underneath Wano. And I think that, remember when we saw where the ancient thing was kept in Wano, down in that hole of fresh water that people couldn't get to? I think that in the reason why we keep getting shown New Odin, or as I'm calling them, Nodin, or the reason we're getting showed their pilgrimage alongside with where we are right now, is that Odin is going to eventually become with us. And in their travels, they're going to go under Israel, and they're going to have come to the well where they have to give up their eye in order to get knowledge, because that's part of the Norse mythology, that Odin gave up his eye at one of the wells in order to gain knowledge. And so I think that that's going to happen, and then Odin is going to end up with us with an eye patch on.
I think that's possible. I think the idea of the Odin figure, so I'm looking into Norse mythology more and more, because I think the mythology that Luffy draws the most from is Japanese and maybe Brazilian and Haitian, because there's a talk of Joy Boy, right? Everything about Shanks feels associated with Norse mythology. And now I'm so convinced he's a Tyr figure. And I just want to say, I briefly looked into it. Tyr is killed in Norse mythology by the hound that guards the underworld.
That makes sense.
So if Blackbeard is a Cerberus-like figure, it makes sense that he would represent just the wolves of Norse mythology more broadly. Because guys, there's like 5 significant wolves in Norse mythology. There's so goddamn much. Shamrockstock, maybe Shamrocks is the wolf. Who knows?
And that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping Shamrock and not
Blackbeard. It's just when you have characters as tied together as Blackbeard and Shanks, it would feel like such a letdown if they never meet. Like every time Shanks shows up somewhere, he's talking about Blackbeard.
What do you mean, Monomon?
The idea of hockey in the hat is so good, and I'm trying to think of places we can see something about it.
Odin doesn't hang himself to, in all the Norse mythologies I've looked up, Odin has to give up an eye. Let me look up.
There's something in the fact that Odin, the first Odin, is married to Toki, and Toki, holy shit, guys. No, this is incredible. The first Odin is married to Toki and is the person Toki finds, and then Odin's will is carried on by Yamato. I think Mama might be onto something, because think about this. We're so off base from Romance Dawn now, but this is where we're at. We're theory jamming too. Guys, Toki disappeared, similar to an Odin sleep, to carry this will to Odin, pass on to the next Odin, disappeared during the end of the previous world, and shows up at the end of that cycle, at the end of the next world. Literally
Yes.
like an Odin sleep, jumping from
Yes.
one end of world to the next end of world, inspiring Odin, whose will then, because he gives his life, needs to be carried on to a new Odin. But like,
Yes.
you could absolutely see Toki jumping and carrying that will to Odin as something of an Odin sleep, because it is literally going from one Ragnarok to the next.
Exactly. So now, new Odin,
Mhm.
I think, is going to go underneath to the well of knowledge and end up having to sacrifice an eye.
We'll see what up. We'll see what up.
I really think so. Here, I'm putting this in so people can see it. I just looked it up quickly. What did Odin give up an eye for? Odin sacrificed one of his eyes in exchange for wisdom. He did this by traveling to Mirmir's well, also called the Well of Erd, located beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. There, Mirmir, the keeper of the well, a being of immense wisdom, tells Oda that he can only drink from the well if he pays a high price. Odin accepts this cost, plucks out one of his eyes, casting it into the well. And so then I think after that kind of a same but different thing in the way that Oda does things, we're going to see that our new Odin is going to have a eye patch on, which is going to signal the end of the story.
I'm convinced it's either Luffy or Blackbeard that'll have the eye patch.
And I'm
Whether or
convinced
not
it's
symbolically
Odin
is Odin.
I'm not done. I'm also convinced it's Odin because I think that then Odin is going to meet us where we are and become our 10th and final member of the crew.
That maybe that's why Page One was torturing the twins. They might have found a route below Wano while traveling with their dad. Weird. VV? Question mark, question mark. Okay. If we can drag this back to Romance Dawn.
I don't think it's going to be Vivi. I think it's going to be Odin. And I think Vivi would be great, but I think Vivi is not going to be necessarily a crew member. I think Vivi is going to be a world player. She's a leader in the world. Her dad is dead. She needs to take over her country. She's in a position of being able to report and coordinate. And I think the person who at the end of their journey, especially once they find knowledge, can become a crew member is Odin. And Odin is also connected to Ace, which brings Luffy's brother into the picture. It is Pandemon.
You have what I would call points.
I'm telling you, I think it's going to be Odin. I think she's going to find her way through the passages under Yggdrasil. She's going to go to Mirmir's well. But it won't be Mirmir. It'll be called, oh my god, maybe she'll do it through a Mirmir world. Mirmir.
Can I talk about
that would
something?
Be amazing.
Wait. I thought Thor was Loki's brother in I guess Norse mythology. Like, I'm not talking about Marvel. Like, I thought in Norse mythology also, like playing Smite in the like in character bios, he says he's his brother. Is that one of those things where because it's based off of poetry, it varies and some myths tell it one way? Mythology, he's his uncle? No? Okay, I need to look this up.
I really think it's going to be the Mirmir world is going to get us to the underworld under the tree. And that's why it's going to be called the idea of Mirmir's well in the story. And that's how Odin is going to get there and lose their eye. And I think it's just going to be Odin, regardless of the fact that we have somebody who it's supposed to be Thor's uncle, blah, blah, blah. I think it's going to be Odin. There's a reason he named that character Odin.
Okay.
And more importantly, can I just say, there's a reason that he not only named a character Odin, who then allowed himself to be boiled for his friends, that a new character took on that same person's name and being and will and renamed themselves Odin to keep that name alive.
Yeah, no, look, I get what you're saying here.
Because otherwise, why would we still need the name Odin? And
So
yeah.
So I want to talk about something from Romance Dawn real quick. I've
go
been
ahead,
thinking.
I have one other thing I want to say about Romance Dawn first too. So go ahead.
Okay. Wait. If you want to do about Romance Dawn or something else.
No, but Romance Dawn.
So something that I've noticed. Hockey was planned, right? Now, did Oda know what it was going to be? Did he know it was going to be divided into armament, observation, conquerors? No. But he knew it would be a power system of some sort, which you can see exclusively because of Shanks's glare to the sea monster. Like, you know for a fact, based off of that alone, that he intended it. Now, does that mean it was intended to be in the hat originally? I don't know. That is... Like,
I don't know either.
I don't know. I think I'm on board with you that could be the case now. It's a thing that makes sense. I feel it. However, I don't know if it was intended. What do we
I
think?
think
I've
he
been
intended
thinking.
it to be protective. I really think, I don't know if he thought it was going to be hockey or not, but I think that he intended that it was going to be a protection symbol. And I think now that protection symbol will be woven in hockey, which he made clear when he undid a rope knot.
Look, I'm not saying it's complicated to have it split into the three. What I'm saying is I don't think he had it divided at this point, just based off the way that it's represented with
which is
Shanks.
Why I think it was meant as protection.
Yeah. So the more I think about it, I think hockey, because hockey or power systems in shonen, power systems in anything should be, I mean, I'm going to say should actually. In shonen, this is usually the case. I love the power systems in Mistborn. They are not a complex representative of something. They don't feel like they have representative virtue. It's not necessary to be a cool power system. But in shonen, usually power systems tend to represent themes. What does Ki represent in Dragon Ball? Hard work and discipline. And devil fruits represent imagination and creativity. Hockey represents ambition, will. Now, the word will and ambition feel like they start to take more of a position in this. Early on, though, and this makes sense. Think about this, right? Oda is a mangaka. Eventually, he's an established mangaka who needs to have
I heard that
this...
he was a mangaka also.
Yeah, he needs to have this crushing will to keep having the discipline to tell the story the way he's going to. But early on, he wants to be the best-selling mangaka. He wants to be the next Toriyama. How could you have such a lofty dream? All of the conversations early on in One Piece about inspiration and what you can accomplish are about your goals, but they're framed from the idea of dreams instead of ambitions. And then later, as Oda is succeeding in what you'd call a dream, but has yet to reach the completion that would make it feel resolved, I feel as though his perspective on what matters when it comes to accomplishment and success shifts towards ambition and drive. And that's why hockey becomes more what we know it. My reading of this, looking at Romance Dawn, is that hockey was meant to be a power of dreams at first. And as Oda went from being the man who dreams of being the next big mangaka to having pretty quickly having become the next big mangaka, hockey couldn't be just powered by, I have the dream to have this, as he was kind of forced to reckon with. The work goes on beyond that. The work goes on beyond feeling like your dream is realized, because that's not necessarily finishing the quest. That, because there's so many conversations that feel like they're elevating the concept of a dream in this. And that kind of dies down in later One Piece to be replaced by will and the world you'll create and what your work will do. So like, oh, apparently the first big boom in One Piece popularity in Japan was Alabasta, which is where Zoro uses a more concrete version of haki. I think I'm onto something. I think hockey was meant to be dreams at first and became the same concept, but more refined as will, ambition, and drive as Oda became more established. And it became less about is this possible, more about the drive to follow through. Yes, they're still tied and not inseparable, but I think there's a big difference in the approach, in the framing. They're the same concept. A dream and a will are, in theory, referring to the same thing, but you have to admit they're a different lens of looking at that thing. And I feel like early on,
as I went through, I said to myself, dreams were so important in the beginning. Like, I spent so much time talking about a person's dream. The first 3 episodes that I talked about, I kept mentioning what I think he was implying by dreams. And then all of a sudden we hit Alabasta and that changed. And I really think that you're correct, that he realized, like so many people realize, when you reach your dream, congratulations, you really haven't reached shit. It's keeping that dream. It's what popular people in movies talk about all the time. Like, good for you, you're popular. The harder part is maintaining popularity. Getting there is nothing. Staying there is everything.
And it makes me wonder. So you go.
So I was just thinking, like, he realized he had to do more than dreams. It was an ambition to, once you started to reach your dreams, the ability to balance them and keep them, because that's the hard part.
I want to pitch something to everybody that's going to sound crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think that
that's a
Luffy.
good one, by the way. Sorry, an old toilet. I'm not calling you that.
An old toilet. Sorry, that's actually my friend Arnold's toilet.
And
You ever met Arnold before?
Arnold is a nice guy.
Yeah, that's Arnold. Arnold's toilet. Okay, hear me out. I'm gonna say something maybe controversial.
Do it.
Controversy. Reading this, I don't believe Luffy has always had a secondary ambition.
Interesting. Carry on.
I think at this point, Luffy's ambition was to become king of the pirates. And I think Oda at some point had to do this soul searching we're talking about of, I have become what I wanted. I achieved, in theory, my dream of becoming the big mangaka. I was inspired by Dragon Ball and I wanted to be that, and I did it, and I've done it for a long time. And I think at some point Oda had to reckon with that and realize that having done that, a story about ambition shouldn't be a story about I want to reach a level, because that's not a good goal, really. It has to be about, what do I want to do with that? Because think about Oda now, where his story is so much more philosophically and politically conscious. Now, those themes have always been there, but in the past, in post-time skip, those themes have been so well thought out about the responsibility behind them, about what Luffy's impact on the world really is. We've been seeing Luffy learn what it means to be the big deal, about how thoughtful he needs to be, about the power he wields by just having become great enough to reach this level. And I think that's Oda. I think that's him realizing, I've become huge. I've become such a huge fucking deal that when I do anything, it has this rippling impact on millions of people. And I think where we're at with One Piece is the theme has had to shift because Oda's had to kind of cotton with, if your dream is to become great, you are going to make such waves, such wake, that all of your smaller ambitions and decisions, whether you care about it or not, are affecting everyone around you. That's Luffy's revelation, or that's Luffy's flaw we see at the end of Dressrosa, that he finally resolves at the end of Wano, deciding, I don't want to be responsible, I don't want to be important, I just want to be great. Greatness comes with importance. And Oda realizes this, and suddenly, this can't be a story about wanting to reach the top. This has to be a story about, what do I do with that? And now One Piece is no longer a story with the goal of being the big manga. It's a story with the goal of doing something great with being the next big manga. I think I'm cooking here.
I think you are too, but I think he actually says these goals early on. Okay, so I just want to point out a couple of things that I noticed.
Hit me up.
So in the very beginning of it, there is a scene where all of the crew, all of Shank's crew, are in the bar and they're lined up and they go, calm down, Luffy. Let's just have a good time. Yeah, pirates always have a good time. The sea is vast and there's lots of islands to explore. And best of all, pirates have freedom. And that shows the early ambition of Luffy when he's just like, he's all he can think about when he first goes out. It is, I just want all the freedom. That's all I care about. That's all that matters. But then, almost immediately after, and this is something interesting because this is something that we talked a little bit about with Melanie, and you and I can get into this later, where she talked about the will of sons in our current arc, and how there's so many sons and fathers and blah blah blah, and how you can admire somebody and want to be like them, but you will, and I said, but you won't be them, because whether you like it or not, your own personality will shine through. The way that Usopp admires his father so much and wants to be just like him and becomes a pirate because of that, but on the other hand, he still brings in his cowardiceness and has to overcome that in him. So Luffy wants to take on all of these people's words, and then it shows in one of the next panels that then Luffy finds out from Shanks that there's more to it. that you're not just going to get to be the freest, you're also going to have to put your body in front of people and protect people. And so Luffy realizes, like, being a pirate and having great ambition and great strength and achieving greatness doesn't mean that suddenly you're just out there on your own doing whatever the shit you want. It comes with great power comes great responsibility. But then Luffy shows it in his way and how he's going to do it in the future immediately, because we go to these panels. We see Luffy with his little buddy. Sorry, I'm just finding the panels because I just literally.
Oh, by the way, can I just say, isn't
it
great to see Kobe again and know what he accomplishes?
Oh my god, I was like, Kobe, I missed you.
Because the last time I looked back at the early One Piece, it was before Egghead, because it was watching the live action. So it was before Kobe had become him. Kobe is him now.
So cool.
Kobe has, oh god, reading this and seeing Kobe was just like, oh my god, my little guy.
So first, Luffy says something terrible and Kobe to the what's her face, and then Kobe said, no, don't do that, Luffy. After Luffy had taught him the whole thing about how Luffy doesn't care if he dies in the chasing and fulfillment of his dreams, he doesn't care. And then he goes, don't say that, Luffy. You're going to get hurt. You need to take that back right now. Hurry up. And then Luffy was like, no. And then he goes, I think you need to take it back. And then he goes, no, I think you are. He stops and he goes, Lady Alvida is. And then he thinks about Luffy saying, I'm going to be the king. Even if I die trying, then at least I tried. Lady Alvida is the ugliest old hag of all. And then he sticks by it. And then what happens? And he said, it is better to risk my life trying to achieve my dream. I'll join the Navy and then I'll capture Alvida. And then she has a little spaz and Luffy jumps in front. She smashes him and he says that didn't hurt. So here's when I was reading that, what I was thinking, and now I'm tying it into what you're saying. I think Oda almost kind of had this foresight of his life, like what happens when you become the biggest and greatest. If you don't empower others on the way, if you don't realize that you just being in a place of power isn't enough, but Luffy is going to bring his Luffiness into the idea of Shanks' protection. So he immediately, we find out, Luffy's not just going to stand in front of Kobe and immediately do everything for him. Kobe has to have his own action and agency prior to him doing it. But it also, go ahead.
Kobe this whole time wouldn't have become as great as he did if not for all these moments we're seeing where Luffy empowers him. You're totally right.
Yeah. But I think that the reason is because right in the beginning, Luffy didn't know this about himself, but he was going to be the type of pirate and leader who once he got to the top and saw that it was ambition, was going to understand that if you left weak people behind you, if you truly want freedom and you don't want to be attached to everything, then you're going to have to strengthen the people behind you. And so his ambition was going to have to include building people up.
Yep. So this is something we're going to talk more about. I think this will make it into the edited video because it's the core theme I want to get into. But for the stream viewers, I do want to mention this. One of the core things I want to talk about in our big One Piece's political video, where I want to talk about the political ethos of One Piece, which won't be for a while because we have to do another One Piece political video before then. But I think it is so essential that Luffy is a greedy and selfish character, because the only way you can't actually vouch for good politics from the perspective of this is what will make the world a better place for everybody if a character is selfless, because then you're saying, oh, the way to make the world better is that everyone is a better person. If you make Luffy do good things while being selfish, what you do instead is politically instruct, hey, if you want to live in a better world, these are the steps you take to make the world better. Luffy wants a better world, so he makes things better for people because that's what he wants. And I think we do see that here. So I think you're right that my statements made it seem like Oda doesn't have enough of an appreciation, doesn't have as much of an appreciation for who Luffy needs to be along the way, that it's just about ambition. It definitely isn't. And we're seeing a ton of that already, that he wants to liberate people internally, that he wants to free them from their internal restrictions by telling Zoro that, hey, other people aren't as honorable as you. You need to live for your dreams. By telling Kobe, hey, you need to stand up for yourself. You need to follow your dreams and be willing to be my enemy, which I'm going to say, this ties into something else. By the way, editor, the only part of that I want you to cut out is the part where I mention why I think it's important Luffy is selfish. The rest of that is just agreeing with Mama and moving on to the next point. So do include the rest of it. Thank you, editor. That brings me on to something important. I think you might disagree with me here, but the scene where Luffy bullies Kobe into punching him makes me love so much more the scene where Kobe says he's going to have to take Luffy's dream, because that's Kobe following through on what Luffy taught him. That's Kobe following through.
I absolutely fucking hate that you mentioned that, but at the same time, you had to. As I was reading that, I had the same thought, because I already told you how much I hate that, but I knew as soon as I read that, I was like, he has to say that, because that's a culmination of their friendship from the beginning when Luffy got him in.
No, if you're saying Kobe's a traitor, I want you to read this fucking book. You go back to volume 1 and suddenly Kobe, I was torn on it where I'm like, I'm sad about this, but it's empowering for Kobe. Now I'm fully on board.
No, it's not. Luffy intentionally goats him into punching him in the face so that they won't be seen as friends. Everyone knew he was doing it intentionally. It was bad acting. They even said it. But at the same point, he was informing Kobe about how their villainous relationship of being enemies was going to work in the future, even though he said, we will always still be friends.
We're always going to be friends, but you have to be my enemy to achieve your dream, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with this.
And because you need to achieve your dream, and it's for a dream, it is what it is.
Yep, it was.
I hate it.
Genuinely, if you reread volume 1, it makes Kobe saying, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to stop you, Luffy. It makes that scene so fucking hard, because you go, oh shit.
Nobody
holy fuck. You hate that scene, but you have to admit, this changes it.
It changes it because it makes you go like, look, come on. It was destined. He wrote it. It was in the stars from the beginning. You can't deny it.
It was so set up. The idea of, hey, Kobe, I know we have to be enemies, and I'm going to make you realize that. Like,
and I even said it. I said it in the second or first one. I said, when it said, but little did he know he was going to leave one thing behind. And I said, yeah, that thing is Kobe. And Kobe is going to do the biggest thing ever to him later on, and he's going to deeply regret it. And I still say that is the thing. The one mistake he made was Kobe, and Kobe is going to become a super problem soon.
I mean, Kobe is already a huge big deal.
Because look, dude, you remember that phase when he says it, like the spot in it where he says, oh, here, I can tell you where it was. Because it depressed the shit out of me, because I had the exact thought as you. And here it goes. We're on our way to the Grand Line. Luffy and his first crewman, the former infamous demonic pirate hunter Zoro, set sail. Neither of them realizing that they made one serious mistake. And I still think, honestly, that one serious mistake is Kobe.
Oh God, I'm so excited for how that's going to come to fruition. Everything about this makes me appreciate Kobe's character more, because Oda so clearly knew where he wanted to go with Kobe, because we see Kobe as a person who's going out of his way to be selfless and save others, who's risking his own life to protect people around him. Oh my God, think about this. I think Kobe's biggest inspiration, I think the moment that changed Kobe the most, there's two things here. Seeing everyone in the town freak out, not just when Zoro's mentioned, but when Morgan is mentioned. And seeing the Marines cheer when Morgan's defeated. Because I think those were the moments that taught him.
More importantly, seeing that they were about to shoot themselves, and that they were taking orders from somebody in high power who was giving orders that pirates would give.
And realizing that, like, Marines aren't inherently good, but they should be. That you should trust authority. You should trust authority, not in the way that if you're a good person, you'll trust authority, but in that authority should deserve your trust. I think these moments shaped who Kobe is, and as much as Honesty Impact is a really dumb goddamn attack name, it's actually kind of cool. Because
Honesty Impact!
Because Garp's big attack is Galaxy Impact, and it's Garp saying, I am everything. I am the fist of the universe. I am power itself, whereas Kobe's is about what drives him, which is people with power, people with authority, people who are responsible for the lives of others should be one thing above everything else. Honest. You should know what we're doing. We should be living for you. The strong should be serving others. This, rereading this has hyped up Kobe more than anything to me because Oda's delivering on these few chapters so fucking well for that kid.
I can say that Kobe is kind of mid when you first meet him, and he's just a character that you're meeting for the sake of kind of showing who Luffy is and how he acts.
Yes.
And showing that he's going to force people to take agency over their life in order to protect them,
Which is important.
but that he is going to care for people no matter what side they're on, as long as they are people who are good. But in the rereading of it, suddenly you realize, with all the places that you saw Kobe get to, and then you see him as a young boy again, you realize Kobe is going to have a huge place in this overall manga, that he's going to come in strong in the end. Unfortunately, it's going to be against Luffy, and he may be successful. And that his character is so much more important and so much more interesting than you thought it was. And I'm looking forward. Somebody said they were looking forward to his glow up. Well, they said for his climax in 2029,
Yeah.
but this app was super worried about the word climax.
Dude, you know who else gets a bit of hype here? For real, for real?
Who?
Helmeppo.
Okay, it's like, I hate Helmeppo, and
I love Helmeppo.
Daddy.
He sucks here.
But on the other hand, you really do see how much he changed based upon how much he sucks.
But I wanna highlight it more because I think Oda does such a fantastic fucking job. He does such a fantastic fucking job of recognizing the state he introduces a character in to produce the best impact on reread. This is incredible. Think about this, right? So Kobe's a character who we see all of his inspirations. We see where he gets his strength. We see what he decides he doesn't want to be. We see Luffy teach him what he has to be to resolve his dreams. And all of that has come to resolution. What do we see of Helmeppo? We see someone who's insecure, whose identity comes from his father, whose father thinks he's pathetic and doesn't mind him using his name. Why? Because it kind of just shows how great Morgan is, that his name alone is enough for Helmeppo to get away with shit, because it flexes on him. He doesn't like his son, but he lets his son abuse his name because it speaks highly of him to have that much power. Helmeppo is someone who doesn't care about anything other than having status here.
It also puts eyes out into the world. When people know that Helmeppo is his son, people know that that is like an extension of one of his fingers, and that it's out in the world taking the pulse.
It's active authority. It's passive authority, actually. Sorry. So it's his authority being extended, right? So hear me out, right? Helmeppo is someone who just wants status and position and importance without work. And Helmeppo, by the time they've come to save Kobe, is someone who is okay being a background player, who's getting the shit kicked out of him, who's protecting, who doesn't care about status. He's not complaining like Groose is that Kobe's getting the attention. He doesn't care about it. All he cares about is putting in the work to do a good job. He's entirely, I'm tearing up here. He's entirely changed. He's gone from someone who's no work, all status to, I don't fucking care about the status. I don't need the accolades because I've seen the work this man puts in. He deserves it. He is greatness and he doesn't even care. So I am going to do everything I can to let my boy shine. I'm going to protect him. He is going to make it and I will make sure of that. And he's at his fucking best protecting Kobe's ambition and protecting his boy.
And Green Entertainer made a good point about Helmeppo being Kobe's Usopp because he talks big about himself, looked up to his screwed up dad, followed him through perilous adventures, and is now a true friend willing to stand up to authority for him. But also, and somebody said, and also kind of Zoro. And that's true, but they also have a unique friendship, and it is kind of a Zoro because they were both on different sides of the fence. Like originally,
I would say more Zoro than Usopp. I think Zoro is the one I'm feeling more, but yeah.
We have Kobe as a pirate and not as a government person, and so there's kind of a switch over there too, which makes it more interesting for them. But they also have a unique relationship in that they saw each other at their weakest in a way that like you might say like, oh yeah, all the Straw Hats saw themselves at their weakest, but they were never weak. Kobe has
No.
just begun sticking up for himself. He's done 2 tiny things to stick up for himself that is going to put him on the pathway to his dreams, but they're tiny. And Helmeppo is a whiny little snot baby.
He's done nothing for his dreams. He's been is a leech of his dad's status.
And so they have a unique friendship in that they meet each other at their weakest, most pathetic, and they grow as men together.
God, dude. Like, obviously Kobe is the more impressive person by the end, but I still think Helmeppo, because Helmeppo didn't have a Luffy. Helmeppo didn't have someone work to build him up and change him as a person. He just was inspired by Kobe enough to be like, nah, we in this.
And I think we're going to see some more growth in Helmeppo in future places, but I think that they have become powerhouses together, and that because of that, their friendship has a lot of layers that as readers we might not see at first, because when you've been your weakest with someone and you've grown, you know what that person's bottom looked like, so you appreciate their top in a much deeper way, and you appreciate their journey to getting where they got in a much deeper way. Like, they are brothers.
I also think of it the way I think of the crew, where you talked about how being inspired by Robin changed the crew. And I read that once Hockey was revealed, I was able to tell you, you've tapped into something, because that's got to be them able to increase Hockey by carrying each other's dreams and the burden of each other's ambition.
Yes.
And that's Helmeppo and Kobe, where Kobe, Honesty Impact didn't come from him alone. It came from the fact that he was the one who could carry the ambitions of every freed slave, of Garp's dreams for him, and of every Marine on that boat. And why was Helmeppo at his strongest protecting Kobe? Because he was carrying Kobe's will to carry those dreams. He was carrying Kobe's will in that moment. God damn, dude.
Yeah, and so you can see that when you do the rereading, like all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, these characters are going to be so much more important. They have to be, because this setup is a lot more detailed than we thought when we read it as first times.
Yep.
It is in the rereading where you see how deeply he wrote.
But it feels like, to me, it's both, because I don't think Oda was at his best yet. I think he's obviously better at this point than he was when he wrote Monster, where that was like, you know, good, but very plain writing, very like to the point. But I think the thing that's best here is that every time he comes back to a character, I think he probably returns briefly to recheck in how they were introduced, to think about how to most effectively write that. Because to me, I don't think he in this moment necessarily imagined all of the things Helmeppo and Kobe would be, because they're tied into elements of the world building that didn't exist back then. But I do absolutely believe that he referred back to this and was like, how do I get the most out of this for people who dig into this series? What was their introduction?
Two things there, because I agree with you that as I'm going back, I'm like, did you reread what you wrote and realize that it could go off in this direction? And you were like, oh my God. But I also think he really did. I really think he meant that the friendship of Kobe wasn't a mistake, but leaving him behind as a Marine was a mistake. That it would become one of their greatest downfalls.
Yes, I agree. The narrator said it. The narrator doesn't say shit that often in the series.
And so when he said but what they didn't know is they had made one of their greatest mistakes. And I think obviously we are all led to believe that is the greatest mistakes. And for that reason, he knew that Kobe was going to become something very, very important, but he obviously might not have known exactly where that was going to take place. But the fact that he took fucking Helmeppo along for that ride and gave him a blood brother
oh my God,
pretty brilliant. Pretty brilliant. Okay, dude, I want to go off in a new direction. Are we ready for it?
I am so ready for it. I'm just glad that we gave Helmeppo and Kobe their time, because the boys deserve it. Going back to this, fucking, oh God, them kids.
I so agree, because I don't think we gave them very much time in the original when we were reading.
Dude, we didn't give Romance Dawn any time. Our first episode was mostly Baratier. We barely talked about Romance Dawn, Orangetown, or Seared Village.
We literally just breezed through Romance Dawn as if it was just a thing that occurred at some point.
I think you talked about it more than I wanted to, because I didn't remember it being as significant as it clearly is.
Well,
I was just like, yeah, let's move on to Brigadier.
saw the anime, and I had read it. And when I went back and I watched the anime, because I've watched Romance Dawn as an anime now.
Yeah.
It does not get this impact. It is missing so many pieces.
It's missing Kobe being shot. It's missing Morgan killing his men and ordering them to kill themselves. It's missing Morgan ordering the little girl be killed.
The little girl? I can't remember.
I don't believe he does. There's so much of the brutality missing. I don't think the anime is always a worse version of the story. I think there are times where it does a good job. But that being said, yeah, Romance Dawn. I also think, as much as a ship is a more interesting battleground, I think that the fight with Alvida taking place on an island was better.
Okay, thank you.
Specifically,
I was gonna say, when I saw her shack with her flag on it, and how we now know that pirates have islands they specifically go back to and leave their stuff, and because their Jolly Roger is on it, is left alone, it changes the face of what pirating looks like. People are terrified when she leaves.
It also shows that Kobe has been thinking of a way to leave by building his own dinghy really badly. But it shows like it's an embodiment of his dream being shoddy and secretive and weak. And Luffy strengthens the dream to give me a goddamn boat.
Yeah, exactly. And then the fact that the other reason there were some cool moments is the fact that Alvida was able to come onto the land, see this shit boat that Kobe had said that he had spent 2 years building in secret in the back, and she comes in and with one beat of her club destroys it on land to make it clear that he will go be and do what she tells him to, because she will make sure that he doesn't have the ability to have free movement. And to be able to stop moving somebody from place to place and be able to strand them on an island becomes a massive, massive theme of One Piece. So hear me out. It absolutely ties into what I was about to say.
Okay, I'm excited. Hit me up.
So we have Shanks out in the water, and the giant sea creature eats his arm.
Yep, I do remember that. Making him our tier figure, as was briefly discussed.
And what is the sea creature called? What is it? A sea king.
It was Lord of the Coast, I think, is that one specifically, but sea kings is what the species are called.
Yes, but it's a member of the Sea King family. And then later, Luffy is like, okay, I'm off to finally make my way in this awesome world and being a pirate. And everyone's like, yay, good for you, Luffy. And as he's leaving in his little boat, let me just get to chapter 5. He's like leaving in his little boat, and he sees, sorry guys, I want to make sure I get it right. My God, is it all the way back in like chapter 3? This man does so much in so little fucking time.
I mean, before he had 1,300 named characters to manage, the man was efficient with his panels.
But it's not just even that. Like, it's chapter 2 he does this thing, and for me, it felt like it must have been so late in the story and blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, I'm lying to you even. I'm a liar who lies. It's chapter goddamn 1.
I mean, chapter 1 is like 40, 50 pages, right?
Yes, it's only 54. Why are you going off?
Okay, so more than the numbers I said. Understood. A larger number objectively.
A larger objective number than the amount of numbers that you originally said. So here's what he says.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. You do you first, and then I'm going to make my joke later.
He says, oh, dang it. Our local sea monster. Sorry I have to do this, but there's an attack I've been perfecting since last time we met. Gum pistol. Punches him in the face. That's what you get, you darn fish. And then I was like, what do you mean your local sea monster? That's nonsense. And then I realized, if you keep the majority of the sea kings in the calm zone, That's where they have babies. That's where they're
Yep.
kept if you need them. You can release them when you want. And you pull out a sea monster for every region so that if you try to leave and you don't have the proper authority, or you're just a person trying to move island to island, get to know things, create relationships between different islands, if every island has a sea king there keeping you from leaving, what an effective method of making sure that you've not
So
only
are you
separated the
thinking
world
the
with the
previous
red
Poseidon was
line.
controlled by the 20?
Maybe. And I think that they created sea monsters that are the quote unquote just the local sea monster, which is ridiculous. And we see local sea monsters again later
All
on.
right.
And
I
so we see this idea of keeping people trapped in the place that they're from so nobody is a traveler.
I know that I said this about hockey hat theory, and then I came back and was like, fuck, hockey hat theory might be entirely correct. However, allow me now to say, I think you're crazy.
Okay, so let me tell you why.
Okay? Please
Before
go on.
before you think I'm crazy, and it doesn't necessarily have had to, but I think it would have been put there by somebody in the beginning. Now
Do you
keep this.
know when we have guests how often we're gonna have to take a pause to be like, pause. We both think you're insane before you can pitch and try to explain yourself?
I'm going to enjoy the living shit out of that.
There so often, me and guests are gonna have to be like, you're insane. Please elaborate.
If you can travel throughout the world using those pentacircles that were in the offices of the Grorsi, and you have
The
the
Grorsi?
you know who I mean.
Yeah,
And
sure.
you have the ability to move throughout times and to force things to do what you want, then one of the smartest things you could do in a world where you were trying to raise the sea level and create boundaries between people would to be to put sea monsters within different territories to control the movement of the people. And that means if you had someone who say wanted to become a reporter on their own and couldn't fly above them and didn't have government helping them to work things, then one of the very best things you could do is stick sea kings there, because people like Luffy who don't have the ability to beat them up would be like, well, fuck it, I'm stuck here. Also, and more importantly, the only people who would be on the water able to control the passageways would be the government, except for da 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 da. If one group of people said fuck you and became pirates and managed to navigate and get the weaponry that they needed to work together to fight against the sea kings if they fought back at you. Normal people, we don't see going out to sea. We see them fishing within inlets. We see them doing small things next to the coast, but we don't see them traveling place to place. The only people we see doing that other than the government is the pirates, and it would explain why the pirates became a thing. If there are dangerous monsters at the ports and openings of all the islands, even in East Blue. And so you have to have a group of people who have the weaponry, the manpower, the experience to move place to place and fight against the Sea Kings. The Sea Kings being put at all these islands actually becomes one of the greatest methods of controlling the normal populace from having movement on the planet.
I'm looking at the mural right now, our version, and I see normal people by the Noah. We've talked in the past about how we believe it's possible that when the Lunarians were in charge, they modified people to make fishmen, and that's why they exist. I do kind of wonder if, looking at it, we see what looks like Zhao, Skypians, and possibly the future merfolk, possibly just people, but the merfolk could be represented by the Ark Noah, which is down by Zhao, what we believe is Zhao. Is it possible that it was more than just Zhao that sided with Emu and did things for him and then came to regret it? That perhaps more of the D clan joined with Emu out of desperation. Maybe Joy Boy was lost or imprisoned and he was like, I'll help you out. God, can you imagine if that came back and we got an arc without Luffy where Blackbeard was like, I'll team up with you, Straw Hats. I also want to break into Marijois.
Yeah, it's possible.
And
But
Luffy
I
has
need
been
you to
kidnapped like
I need you
17
to think
times.
about this for a minute, because it's something that I've been
Mm-hmm.
on for a hot minute since I started reading this one again. He
Mm-hmm.
normalizes the existence of Sea Kings immediately,
Yeah.
and then we only see different types of Sea Kings, including Moo Moo Cowface and other things like that at some other ports. And you got to keep in mind that one of the things that I said very first in this is how much that if you want to win a war against people, you separate them. It's why the Canadian government put Indigenous people on reservations. It's why apartheid kept Black people from white people. It's why we had all the separation of people in South Africa, but also why racism and Jim Crow laws did it in the United States, etc. Jewish people, concentration camps. The very best way to take over is to separate people and allow them to create friendships and alliances. So how do you keep that happening? You put guardians, giant freaking prison guards. You're on an island. You don't even know you're in prison. You're on an island and you just think, unfortunately, in our world, there's sea kings and they stop us from traveling and they will eat your goddamn arm or kill you. And that just is what it is. Even the great Shanks, it showed, had his bloody arm bitten off because he forgot that the Sea King was there and was just like he tried to save Luffy. He alone wasn't enough to stop himself from getting injured. They're so powerful and so big. Even the great Shanks had his arm eaten off.
Now, I
So
stand by that he might have just let it happen to teach Luffy a better lesson, but the point stands either way.
But regardless,
the point doesn't require that he lost the fight for it to work. Yeah,
are powerful enough that they're going to keep the average person from traveling that far off the coast, and they also create the necessity for a group of people who aren't just the controlling populace to create their own society, and that is pirates. So why would you need pirates? Sea Kings.
It also speaks to his theory, or sorry, Oda's political theory that under oppression, freedom requires strength, that acting freely is an act that requires strength and conviction and strength of, honestly, just strength of might, that in an oppressive system, you can't just piece your way into being able to do things. It ties into his seeming beliefs for the world that he instructs, that strength is a requirement of freedom.
And I also think when you looked at the Sea King, it almost seemed if it had this angry face that the Sea Kings inside the Calm Belt didn't have. And so it started to make me think about the Calm Belt, the kings that are taken out. Is there something put upon them so that they become vicious, so that they're changed in some way, so that they become angry? And they will just defend the territory and kill anyone who tries to go over.
I'll be real.
They become a prison guard.
I'll be real. In general, sir,
I have a piece of evidence to prove it.
Okay, please, madam, please.
So then when I was like, is this far-fetched? I was like, Momo could talk to the Sea Kings.
No, that's a Pokemon.
Momo can talk to the Sea Kings. Luffy can hear them. Can he understand them? I don't know.
Well, Shirahoshi can talk to them. Do we know if Momo can?
Shirahoshi can talk to them, blah, blah, blah. Then I was like, okay, so there are people throughout time who've been able to communicate with them, and they probably weren't always this violent. And at one time, they helped one of the sides, and I think they pulled the arc. And then I was like, okay, so why are they doing this? Well, they could have been changed. They could have been made to be angry or had not a spell, but something cast upon them. And then I was like, would anyone do this as a way to protecting their coast? And then I was like, well, Oda always gives a hint in another way to show us a larger picture. I don't know, like all the made up Sea Kings in front of Egghead Island that were protecting his coast.
So what I want to say here is I think.
Oh no, I want you to think about that first.
This ties into where you're talking about. Okay. Trust me. I think why I believe in this is I don't think Sea Kings are natural creatures. We see island whales be referred to as a species, and they are shown to have multiple of them. They have familial units. They are sometimes younger. They are sometimes older. That is an animal. Sea Kings are these vastly varied, grotesque monsters of bizarre shape and obscene size. Seemingly, they're not that hungry. They're not hunting. How would the world sustain them? Same with Zhao. We never see Zhao eat, even though giant elephant. We don't see any two Sea Kings look alike was my next point. Yes, right? Yep. Momu protected the coast for Arlong, but I think Momu was a natural creature maybe because he was just a guy they found. and had babies. I think Momu was just a normal animal. I think some of the sea monsters are normal animals like island whales, but I think the true sea kings are supernatural beings pulled out of hell by Emu when he took over. We've already talked about this before, that we think mythical creatures. Hey, if you're watching the series and you're like, what the hell is he talking about? We believe some crazy stuff about One Piece, but we have evidence. Please watch our videos about the mural. We talk about it constantly. But I believe that they are mythical creatures the same way Cerberus was, the mythical beast that was pulled out. I think they represent Nidogr. Nidogr being sea serpents that circle the world. Combelt is effectively Nidogr of Norse myth, the same way that I believe Jormungandr is the red line. I'm crazy. Yeah. I might sound insane to you, but that's why I think Mama could be onto something, because I don't think these are natural animals. I don't think they need to eat. I don't think they reproduce. I think the reason they can communicate intelligently with someone of a lineage is because they're not animals. They are mythological creatures that are able to be pulled from what is now being referred to as the abyss, which, just to briefly summarize what the insane shit me and Mama have come to talking about the mural and why you should watch it, I think the abyss is a world of dreams and spirits that is housed in the roots of the sun tree and treasure tree. Am I crazy? Watch Mural Piece and decide for yourself.
Don't forget my ghost army theory.
They have to reproduce the Combelts of a breeding ground? Okay, that's been said. Is that a theory or is it true? I still think they're unnatural creatures, but we'll find out.
No, they say that the Combelts are a breeding ground. I remember
they
that.
Do? Okay. I'm crazy then.
And we have also learned
Still stand by it.
Just like the people of Neptunia, how two creatures, they tried to explain that to us, two creatures who look very different from each other will have a baby that is a different kind of underworld sea creature.
That is also true.
I am telling you right now that when Oda had us come to Egghead Island and had those sea beasts there, Oda was saying, hey, pissed. Remember, I have to say pissed because
we've talked about it. Everything Mads does is meant to be a hint about the people of the past.
Exactly.
Oh,
and so that is why when we go to Egghead Island, which is why I was asking you to think about it for a moment, that is showing us what happened in the past, and that is why Sea Kings are prison guards of all the islands, making sure there isn't traveling between people where they're allowed to compare, create friendships and companions.
Oh God, dude.
And come up with plans.
Don't hit me up like this. This is crazy. This is crazy shit.
As I was reading the Romance Dawn, I was like, God damn, Oda, you told us way back then, all of us should have been questioning, why is there a goddamn sea monster here? And then when we met the Sea Kings for the first time, all of us should have been saying, wait a minute, that looks very familiar to the thing that bit off Shank's arm. And then when we saw him intentionally use all the Sea King things in front of Egghead, we all should have been like, oh.
Dancing Viru thinks they've cracked it. I think I might have cracked it too, but it's hard to put together. I agree with so much of what you're saying. I think they were put together like this for sure, for sure.
Yes,
Sea Stone works against devil fruits, but also is used to hide from Sea Kings. Interesting.
Sea Kings. Because they're both made of the same thing. They both come from the same place.
They both come from the abyss, the void.
The void.
Davy Jones' locker. Dude, I think we're cracking something. I think, however, the Sea Kings were made, Sea King essence was spliced into the fish people. That's why they are all different types of fish. I think they got Sea King essence, and that's why their princess can inherit the gene.
This person, Rafe said, because Sea Stone emits the energy of the ocean. Sea Kings just think it's the same. It's more water.
Look, also, you can say that's the explanation.
I think you're right about that. I think you're right about that as well, Drawk, because one of the reasons that you might be very afraid of a Sea King and why you very racist against the people who were mermen and mer people is because if you inbreed them or splice their genes with Sea Kings, and we know how powerful Sea Kings are, you need to be more afraid. They talk about the strength of the mer people and their abilities and their hockey. Well, of course they're afraid, because the Sea Kings are some of the most terrifying creatures of the planet. They use them as prison guards.
People might say, why do you think they're tied together? There's a bunch of reasons. So I'm going to list all of the reasons that I am convinced beyond this theory that mer people are connected to the Sea Kings. And number one is where they live. Where they live is at the roots of the Sun Tree, which I believe is where the Lunarians lived. Why? Because we know the Lunarians used to live where Marie-Joie was. We know loose branches of the Sun Tree have become Sabaody, so we know it probably used to reach up through the Red Line, and it was killed by Emu. That's how he gained the access to demonic powers, in my opinion, and the first devil fruits came from the Sun Tree. This is conjecture based off of the mural, but I do believe all of those things. A lot of it is evidence from the series. Next part is the Tamatabago box, the Tamatugo box, the Tortuga box, special box of pills. It gives superpowers, and it gives red eyes and white hair. The same thing Lunarians have, the same thing that Minx and Sulong have. I think the same thing Luffy's Gear 5 has. I think that is the essence of devils, gives people the white hair, red eyes. I think it is the power of devils. And devils and gods are the same thing in One Piece. We've seen this time and time again, that the theme of the series is that the difference between a demon and a god is perspective. So that is why I think the Ancient Kingdom, the Lunarians, are tied in with the Fishmen. I think it's not unreasonable to say that if people are able to develop devil fruits, they would also be able to develop fish people to take care of the roots of the Sun Tree to protect it. That feels very possible to me. And the idea that they could have been made with the same essence that the Sea Kings are, as these unnatural creatures, kind of makes sense and explains why they have random fish parts scattered throughout them the same way random beast parts are scattered throughout the Minx. I've talked about Norse mythology with this before. Go watch Mural Piece, but I definitely do believe. Has Chopper essentially recreated that drug from scratch, given its effect on Beppo? Chopper has kind of artificially made a Tamatabago box. It is what it sounds like, actually, which makes perfect sense because the version that he gave Beppo was improved by Caesar Clown, a member of Mads, and we have a theory that everything Mads built is meant to teach us about the Ancient Kingdom.
Yeah.
Boom.
Okay. Hear me out.
Have you thought about how when we have guests on, we're going to sound like crazy people?
You just said that you're going to sit there and poke fun of me with another guest, and I'm going to have to prove you. But
and then I'm going to say shit about hell.
Exactly. But I'm going to tell you, you're not exactly in the not making guests go like, what the shit have I gotten into?
We're going to seem insane every time we talk to them.
Yep.
I swear, watch our Mural Piece videos and you will not necessarily agree with us, but you'll at least get why we're crazy. Please go on. Were you coughing or laughing?
Both.
Right answer.
Hear me out.
Hearing you out.
Where is the only place that is known to craft?
What are you about to do?
Okay,
what are you about to do? Known to craft sea prism is Wano, right? Is that where we're going?
Yes, but it's going to sound crazy. I'm just going to connect a few things, okay?
Why is Wano the place known to craft special sun god hats and also poneglyphs and also sea prism stone? Exactly. That actually means something. Listen. Holy fuck.
Exactly.
We're supposed to talk about Romance Dawn, but we're going insane instead.
Okay, so once I realized that Sea Kings are prison guards for islands to keep people from moving place to place in all the world.
Yeah, Sea Kings are prison guards. We're starting at the normal, easy to accept position that everyone agrees with, right?
Everyone agrees with this.
Everyone agrees this is normal and reasonable.
And Wano is the only known place that crafts sea stone, sea prism tools and nails and handcuffs and things on the reg. And the Marines get a source somewhere. But Wano is a closed nation, so it implies that the world government doesn't trade with them in that way anymore. And then we get a hint about the geological and thematic things in Wano with its structure, about how it's floating kind of above a volcano.
Yes.
Or an Idrisil well area. And that it's connected to the ancient technology underneath. because we know it cracked
Okay.
the
Oh,
crafted
you're
poneglyphs.
yeah, sure. Where are you right now? I'm sorry.
So I
Where?
think that Wano was obviously the technological and cultural hub of the old will, and the first to use and mine prison stones.
Or at least of the groups that joined the D clan.
Yes.
Maybe they
And
were artisans
that
for the ancient kingdom who rebelled. Hard to say at this point.
that they have secret craftsmanship and controlled knowledge, for not just the sea prism, but their blacksmith, the High Tetsu, have a lineage.
Oh my
that
god, swords with hockey in it. Most of them are
Yes.
Japanese shape. So they also are better at they're better at imbuing hockey into things, which is probably how the poneglyphs were made indestructible, was by being filled with hockey. And you need Rio flowing hockey is a technique that's seen as basic armament because they're not as good as observation in Wano, because they combine observation into armament to refer to it as Rio, where you read the breadth of the things around you.
You are the only person I would let finish my ideas, but I'm still going to beat you. So I think Pluton is powered and protected by sea prism stones, that it comes from Wano. That's why we see Pluton.
You keep saying something that convinces me, and then you say more insane shit that makes me have to stop and question you.
And yet I'm right. And we've seen the way that they are built. And so I think on this voyage, the reason that even though we are where we are and we're still seeing Odin's voyage is Yamatu or Odin's voyage, is because they are going to gain some of this secret information. That's why they're going to give up their eye, because that information comes from Wano. The only place that has the ability to infuse hockey into swords, the only place where they have all the technological ability to create poneglyphs in the past and still have the ability to do so, the only place where you commonly source sea stone. And so they are going to be the link between the past and the future, moving us forward.
I stand by that. Everything you say makes sense except for Yamato losing an eye and being both Odin and Odin.
Because they are going to go into the bottom world. I don't think it's necessarily going to be through Mirror fruit, and then it will be from Mirror. But think about it. Who's there right now? Thank you for asking. It's Big Mom. We don't know if she's dead. We know she went way down to the bottom.
My guy.
So where are her goddamn children going to come? That's a great question.
Hockey carrying on dreams was planned. Hockey carrying on dreams was planned. The hat being passed to Luffy in a flashback, and then we see a sword from Wano. Straw hat weaving was a technique from Wano, and we see a sword from Wano handed to Zoro to carry on a dream in the same fucking volume.
Which is why he was right to keep Wano closed, and which is why this pilgrimage is going to end up having our
and Japan believes in the in objects' ability to carry on the stories of their owners.
Precisely.
So of course the Japan country would be the one who can infuse objects with hockey.
Yes. So now if Big Mom is there and her daughter comes there to help her,
Jesus
and we
Christ,
have the Mirror fruit, I think that Odin is going to use Mirror fruit to go to one of the fountains of knowledge, find some of this hidden lost knowledge that came from Wano. And then we're going to find out that one of the things that they were mining in that picture was sea stone. And some of it is out there, but there's sea prism, but there isn't a ton out there because we're always told it's super rare, it's hard to get, it's hard to work, blah, blah, blah. But the people who seem to have a lot of it, Wano, because it was being mined from under them, the floating volcanic island, connecting it to Yggdrasil's roots.
Do you want to hear a crazy theory?
Oh no, I hate crazy theories. I don't know if you just heard my rampage. I'm not into them.
What if the reason that volcanic stuff is magic in this world, like the light painters and the volcanic pyrocyblin or whatever that makes sky islands possible, sea prism, all of that is linked to volcanoes. What if all of that is because the molten world that we live in One Piece, the molten core of the One Piece world of the blue planet, is filled with the roots of the trees the abyss is there, which is why there's souls and magic and dreams. This sounds insane, but I want everyone to think about this. All of the magical substances we have in this world, other than like dials and pop greens, I guess, seems to be tied into volcanic activity. It's not bad timing, actually. Frankly, subs deserve the cool shit we're saying. Hey, if you can hear me right now, you're a sub and you deserve to hear me right now. You deserve to see me becoming a crazier person by the minute. That's what you paid for or got gifted.
I'm gonna say though that it's yes, it could be part of a volcanic thing, and that in our world, the volcanicness can be attached to roots. The end of each root is a volcano.
Yes,
Do you know what I
Tommy
mean?
Drawk, don't say that.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, I know what you mean.
If you have Yggdrasil being so important and being the tree of life, and the reason why the things they're taking up from the ground are power sources is because it could be literally volcanic activity that creates the mother flame.
I still stand by it's the power of souls and will itself. It's the dream.
Well,
it's the dream power. It's demon power.
Started with it being dead people, blah blah blah. We talked about it, and it's not that I don't agree with the old theories.
But geothermal energy would be a very good metaphor for reliable. Like, if you want an environmental message, it being a metaphor for geothermal energy is actually a really good idea. You're saying
Yes,
sea stone
also,
is magic? Yes. And it's rare because sea levels rose? Sort of. I think, but volcanoes, so.
But also mountain tree ash, if you were a person, say an emu type person who was trying to divide people, control, get rid of past information, didn't want people to have access to something that was able to allow them to pass through the Calm Belt and get by all the other prison guards of islands who are also serpents, then you wouldn't want them to be allowed to get sea stones, which would be easy to get if, say, a country was open, or B, the whole world wasn't so much ocean. So by raising the ocean levels, turning things into islands, making it difficult to get place to place, and then putting out sea kings as prison guards and making it impossible for you to mine sea stones now. What a great way to control people.
I see now as I'm saying something similar to the Mother Flame being the infernal hellfire engine from Avernus. Similar. I want to pitch something to you that I'm now realizing. Hey, do you want to be crazier? Do you want to keep getting crazier? I want to point out, we have talked about Romance Dawn today. I don't want anyone to say we're not, but this is a multifaceted quest. The quest of going back through One Piece has two purposes: to deeply appreciate each arc for what it is and to find the goddamn One Piece. And that's going to require jumping off of each arc to be insane.
And this is why we decided we are calling it Tinfoil Piece and then having Tin Hat Talk, because we decided that's what this is. Each arc is going to take us on a tin hat journey.
Yep. Now, you don't like the power this gives Sakazuki? Holy shit, that's cool actually to think about. I love that this gives
so much
him
power.
That actually would be so cool if magic in this world comes from magma and it's full of souls. And he killed Ace. He killed the sun, and the sun in this world, fire represents souls too. He's just the mother of souls. He's the mother of, oh God, that's actually so cool. The stocks. Okay, guys, hear me out on something. Blackbeard's powers don't make fucking sense. If any character is going to have a mythical Zoan, yes, if any character was allowed to have a mythical Zoan other than Luffy, it would be Blackbeard. We all agree, like, had to have a secret one. And his would be a mythical Zoan that acts like a Logia, just like Luffy's a mythical Zoan that acts like a Paramecia. Now, this is a common theory. I'm not saying anything revolutionary, but I want everyone to think about something here. If I am theorizing already that in this arc, Shanks is our Tyr, giving his hand to save humanity for the dawn of the new world, for the sun to rise. Tyr is killed by the guardian wolf of the underworld, sure, but I want you to think about this. If I'm right about the Abyss, we know the Abyss exists. If it's the underworld in this world, and I'm right, Mama's right too, we both talked about this, we are right, Team Drawk is right, that souls and dreams, creatures of myth, of belief, and dreams reside in the Abyss. Let's think about it. Sucking things up. We've seen that it's a void you can travel through. Storing objects. Choking out someone's devil fruit powers. All of that sounding pretty abyss-like to me based off of all the little connecting branches we're making in our theory web.
Okay, so wait, your theory is that Blackbeard's thing is that he is the void.
He is the abyss, or the god of the abyss, or the guardian of the abyss. He
is the void sentry. Someone like him existed who pulled it all away.
We're thinking of some stuff. We're thinking of some stuff here. Guys, we're crazy. We're crazy people. Don't listen to us. Listen to us. Just don't listen.
Whatever you do, don't but do listen.
You know what I mean, right? How you should listen to us, but you shouldn't listen to us, you know? Like, you heard the different way I said the word listen. It meant two different things. We're fucking crazy. We're going insane. Editor, it's up to you how much of this you want to leave in, how crazy you want to make us look. Because here's the thing. The rest of these, we're going to be a little bit more hinged because we're going to have guests. We're going to be more focused on the arc and finding clues. Then our plan is we are every 3 or 4, depending on when we think we need to, every 3 or 4 guests, we're going to do Tinfoil Talk, which is a stream where we just go over all the clues we've examined from the past 3 or 4 arcs, and we're gonna lay it out on the table and do some theorizing. Any guest from those prior streams can show up if they want, but the goal is just gonna be hanging out, getting to the bottom of the clues that we had access to, right? This makes sense to everybody. You all agree that this makes sense. However,
together we are chaos.
Well, there's a problem I'm realizing. The problem is that if anyone watches an episode, let's say they're a big Murph fan and they watch an episode where we have Murph on, they're going to watch it and go, wow, I loved these guys' deep analysis of One Piece in this episode. I'm going to look at the playlist. I'm going to go back. Hey, editor, put this at the beginning of the video. Little warning if you came here from one of our future videos where we have guests on to talk about the beautiful arcs of One Piece and its storytelling, because we're going to be crazier here than you might have seen there, because it's just the 2 of us. And when it's the 2 of us, we're a little bit crazier. All of our episodes where we have guests, I'm hoping in the future, are going to be a little bit more focused on the arc. But you can't keep hinged with another unhinged. All right, enjoy the video.
No, I want to add something to that. Just so you know, if it's just the 2 of us, we lose our hinges. When we have a guest, we take some time and we go find the hinges.
We find them. We get them. We wrangle the hinges into the hinge farm.
This Tinfoil Talk. Buckle up.
Yeah. So,
warning, Tinfoil Talk. Buckle up.
Smokey, we haven't had Murph on, but we might in the future is the point, you know? We want to have Murph on. And we may have a Murph. Who knows?
I don't know if you've noticed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys will have to go in and say, hey, Murph, go on their show. Apparently,
we do need your help to convince people to be on our episodes. Yes. Don't be rude about it. Just be like, we'd love to see you in this series they're doing.
What's the one that we're doing for Party Piece that we have to do?
We have to do a honky tonk party at some point. This has been delaying the next party piece, is our fear of a honky tonk party.
Yes. Are you going to get rid of the fact that the knife has a piece of skin flying up through his head now?
Don't you do anything. Don't. You're
freaking me out, a little one.
We're getting there.
It's freaking me out. Yeah. So anyways, somebody like Blackbeard could be the void. And what fits in the void? Everything. How could he be multiple things? He could be multiple people. He could be people within the void.
Well, but also, if he is the abyss is where the devil fruits come from. Of course he can have more than one. He is the rules of the abyss. Or maybe it's Guardian. Maybe he will be Cerberus, and we're going to find out that you can have the real devil and the devil fruit. Maybe the devil fruit. Wait a minute. I think you can have both, I'm realizing. Can I explain why?
All right.
We see Vegapunk, without getting rid of a devil fruit, able to recreate one. We see the box able to give demonic powers. We see demonic powers infused in the Minks and Lunarians. It doesn't need to take from the abyss the actual thing. The Lunarians probably gain the ability to copy the powers of the abyss into their fruit. There probably is a real sun god in the abyss, and Luffy has the fruit of the sun god. And my reason for thinking that is just that we've seen from Vegapunk the ability to recreate things, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I think he could have a Cerberus fruit, and in being Cerberus, represent 3 separate wolves of Norse mythology: one the guardian of the underworld, one the killer, or the devourer of the sun, and then I don't know, Odin's dog. Odin has a couple wolves, so maybe one of those, because by being Cerberus, he could be all 3. And
My question
having seen the real Cerberus, I don't think that's ruled out, because we've seen Vegapunk recreate devil fruits, which means I think you could create devil fruits and not take the demon itself out of hell. Okay, you go.
Okay, so this would allow 3 questions. First of
Yes.
all, it being a 3 is really, really important,
Yes.
because I noticed in this round, and when I was looking back on our thing about, I don't know if anyone's heard about it, the Harley text, I noticed that Oda seems to be quite passionate about the number 3, as you saw on how the fact that he put a clock there.
Yes.
Let me just go into here. So the fact that he would choose the number 3 is really important, and if he did that, the first question would be, by eating the devil fruit that it was a Cerberus, does it allow him to have 3 different devil fruits on top of that, meaning 4
That's been a
devil fruits?
popular theory. The other alternative is obviously that 3 counting it. I prefer the theory where he is the god of the abyss, and Emu, he is basically the devil fruit of what Emu is. I like that theory more. But the more I think about it, he kind of in the story has the power to represent 3 separate wolves of Norse mythology, and this is what's selling me on the Cerberus theory more than anything, is that by being 3 separate wolves, or by being Cerberus, he can be 3 wolves of Norse mythology, because Norse mythology has a wolf who kills a Tyr, a wolf chained by Tyr, and a wolf who devours the sun. And we've already seen him be the darkness that swallows the sun when he clashed with Ace, and Ace's final attack was a sun against the ball of darkness.
Okay, well, here's why it makes sense.
Yeah.
So 3 is the wholeness. It's the beginning, middle, and end, the past, present, and future.
Yeah.
It's the holy trinity in storytelling arcs, for Japanese storytelling arcs. Is psychologically, it's 3 is the idea of transformation. And so that would be a great reason to give him the Cerberus fruit and let him have 3 separate wolves. Then also, it would explain why his behavior and his attitude is different each time. It follows that indigenous story of, you are the person, you are most the person of the wolf you feed. If you give in to your anger and your whatever, and that's the wolf you feed, that's the wolf you are, etc. And so we will see him act like different people depending on the wolf he is feeding at the time and giving time to. And then it would make sense then that he could have a voidness inside of him that was sucking up life and changing everything, and that we have met him in 2 of his times now, and that we are about to find out, because he's about to feed the 3rd wolf and give it a devil fruit, and that's when we are going to truly find out and have a clash at what he's going to do.
That's really fucking cool. I know this isn't about Blackbeard, but it's so hard to look at Shanks and think about Shanks. They're so tied together as characters. Every time I see Shanks' scars reading Romance Dawn, I'm like,
when you're driving, his scars. When you're
Blackbeard's
drawing his
deal?
scars, how can you not? Right?
What is your fucking deal, Blackbeard? What? Ugh. Him being the wolf, him being Fenrir is interesting too, because if he is 3 wolves of Norse mythology, sure, he didn't personally take Shanks' arm, but if Shanks is a Tyr metaphor, the god of justice and crusades and heroism, which to me fits a lot with Shanks' vibe, then he did scar him. He left him with a scar that stings.
And it's 3 slices.
It is. Everything with Blackbeard is in 3s. I used to not be Blackbeard Cerberus pilled. I wasn't on it. But the more I think about the fact that there's 3 wolves of Norse mythology that he fits the role of easily. I mean, I said 2 that he fits easily, and then, I don't know, you can find a 3rd. Fenrir and Garm for sure.
I just want you to tell me, because I don't think that we've spent enough time on it.
Yeah.
What scars a man in 3 slices? None of the instruments or weaponry that you can think of are just
we
3
actually
slices, are
saw
they?
a shot of him in the past fighting with a Qatar style claw weapon, which were 3
Okay,
claws attached to his
so why would
forearm.
he have a claw? He would have a claw if it was representing Cerberus.
I can see it. I mean, everything about him is done in 3s. He has so far 2 devil fruits, but come on, he can have more. We know he's going to get a 3rd. He has 3 skulls on his Jolly Roger. Like, his first ship wasn't at 3 logs.
He's getting a damn 3rd. Like, that's all. He knows who he is.
True. Fenrir was Loki's son.
My only question is, does he not have a devil fruit that creates him as a Cerberus, or is he just a Cerberus figure?
He could be a Cerberus figure without being Cerberus, for sure. Maybe that's his final fruit, is he's going to devour.
No.
What if he steals Shamrock's sword?
That would be cool. My point is that I was wondering if he is the real Cerberus. If he is.
Well, I don't think so, because we see Shamrock's wielding Cerberus as a weapon. Like the Cerberus. Not introduced as a devil fruit, introduced as Cerberus, dog of the underworld or whatever.
Why is our message on slow mode?
Our message on slow mode? Who knows, man? Who knows anything anymore?
I'm seeing
even the
people
scars
say
you put in
things
Shanks
like,
3.
Yeah, and that's slow. And that's why I was like, why are they putting that there now? And then it says you're in slow mode.
Sorry, get slow mode. Sorry, we don't. Our mods were busy today, guys. Sometimes the mods are busy.
They got lives, they got things, they got stuff.
They got jobs and families and friends. Weird that a 3-pronged weapon would leave 3 scarred lines. Okay, yeah, but point is, everything about the man is in 3s.
The point is, why is he choosing a 3 scarred weapon? Not why does a 3 scarred weapon create a scar?
Yes, I stand by. I was never Blackbeard Cerberus pilled. I didn't like it, and the more I think about Shanks as Tyr and Ace as the first attempt of the dawn of the new world, one of the possible sons, the more I'm like, oh fuck, this line up. WrestleMania is about to start, to be fair, of course.
Let's move into a couple more things before we leave.
Should we do more Romance Dawn?
Yeah, like I wanted to say, when I was reading this, I understood why some people became immediately Zoro hype humans. Like that dude, when he gets released and he fights in 3 sword style and holds off the entire military brigade behind him in that stance, I was like, yeah, well, kind of hard not to think he's the coolest thing since sliced bread, when he's literally holding off and says, if a single one of you moves, they die. And I was like,
I find there's often phases with Zoro where a lot of people have the arc that I kind of had with Zoro, where at first you're like, yeah, he's awesome. And then you go, well, everyone else has all these nuances, and like, I like this character's complexity, and I like what they represent, and I like their character arc. And Zoro's just kind of like a cool, tough dude who works really hard. And then after long enough of being in that space, you start to see nuances in Zoro, but you're like, you know, but I still like the complexities of the other guys. And then the final step, and this is important, is you go, actually, he's just cool enough that it doesn't matter. He's just so fucking cool. He's just so cool.
More than that. If I may, let me read you this little page. All right, so I'm a pirate. I gave you my word. I fought the Navy, therefore I'm officially an outlaw. But hear this. I have a mission to fulfill. I'm going to be the world's greatest swordsman. All I have left is my destiny. My name may be famous, but it's going to shake the world. Shut up.
Fucking hard ass line. But can I? I do love the idea that he gives that speech and Luffy's just like, cool.
No, he goes further. He tells Luffy, if you get in the way of me reaching my goals, I'm going to make you commit harry-carry. He says seppuku. And so come the shit on. Like, and then Luffy after that goes, okay. But I was like, oh, how could you not like this dude?
Sorry, you forgot about Kiwi and Mozu, person who says Blackbeard and Kaku have the only long noses other than Usopp. Yes. Zoro does come across as fucking awesome. I feel like,
because he's awesome.
There's something here where Zoro to me had some of the least like nostalgic impact of the characters in this section. Like Helmeppo and Luffy and especially Kobe the most, hit me a lot harder on coming back here. But I do want to say, of all the things the anime made worse, giving like the amount of space the anime gave to Zoro's backstory, I think worked out. Even if it came at the expense of they couldn't do it during this arc the way they did in the Romance Dawn volume.
You know what I thought about Zoro? I thought, yeah, he's had some growth, not as much growth as others, but
Yeah.
what Zoro is Zoro has been part of the story since chapter 2.
Yeah.
And has been the most consistent thread of the story.
True.
He started off with a specific dream and a specific goal. He's made a bunch of growth, but when I came back here, I thought, yep, that's Zoro.
Yep.
And I loved that because he makes sure no matter how far out this story goes, he is a thread that keeps it online.
But he has the growth he has is so important because it's similar to what we see with Luffy, where Luffy is like, yeah, my dream is what matters. I have my dream. And then on Sabaody, when he thinks he loses his friends, his dream breaks. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Because the real dream was to do it with his friends. And then the same way with Zoro, where he's like, I'll do anything, my dream, my dream, my dream. And he's like, look, I still hold on to that. But Luffy being king of the pirates comes first. I will die if it means saving him. And Kuma's like,
exactly.
Okay, here is all his pain. It's sure to kill you. And I do love later when we see Kuma's inner thoughts. He's like, well, it's definitely not going to kill him, but it'll knock him unconscious for a few days. Poor guy. And then he sees that he's standing after, even though he's unconscious. And Kuma's like, wow, what a tough guy, before he leaves.
My thinking on that was also like nobody else believing in Luffy could have been as impactful as Zoro believing in Luffy.
Because Zoro said, I will kill you if you cost me my dream at first.
I will make you commit seppuku or harikari if you take me for my dream. And then in that time, Zoro was like, I will willingly give up my dream for Luffy.
Yes, his arc is simple but beautiful. He remains true to his dream. It is incredible. It is what drives him, but not more than protecting his goddamn captain. And can I say something that I love? Were you with me? Are you in the same boat as me, where you can't possibly see the scene of Luffy recruiting him and not think about King and Kaido?
Oh, 100%.
Like, you have to rereading this. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad so much. Like, think about how much less compelling this reread would be if where One Piece was at right now was like the start of Wano, where we wouldn't have as much context about poneglyphs and sea stone and weaving of hats, where we wouldn't have as much context for King and Kaido, where we wouldn't have Kobe's development in Egghead. Like, genuinely, I'm so glad we're doing this when we are.
I absolutely agree with that. Okay. The other thing that I really liked about this rereading Romance Dawn, first of all, I started to think about if he gave away so many clues and he called it Romance Dawn in the beginning, is he just trying to tell us that the D clan are all people who are part of the sun and it is the dawn like so many people think it is? Even though we know new things, because I was like, he started it off calling it Romance Dawn, and one has to wonder if it's all about the D clan being part of the same family of gods, and it's the dawn of a new era. I don't know. You start to wonder.
We know the dawn of the world is a thing because of Pedro. I don't know, man. It's a thing.
Yeah, it is.
And Pedro, could you have said some of the secret lore you clearly knew before fucking dying?
That would have been nice. But one of the things that I thought was so cool is how many times we get to see people eating together and how he always seems to end I bet you Oda just loves food, because dude always has people at the very end of an era.
But I think at some point he learned something about a historical famine, probably from Japan, but maybe somewhere else, because hunger and food is such a theme this fast. I noticed that too.
Yes, the people starving, that's what I was about to say. He likes to put a juxtaposition between people not having food and starving and people getting fed again for the first time. He is obsessed with the feeling of not knowing where your next meal is coming from,
Which
and
he
the
grew up like
feel
upper middle
of
class, right? So that's something he
yes,
had to learn from study, not from personal
yes.
experience.
And he's also got the feeling of eating in community, because right at the end of this, we go to the little girl's house with her mom and they eat in community and they talk together and they create warmth through their communal sharing. And he seems to have this really, really, he's placed a high value of this communal eating. And I kept thinking, like, okay, what is going on here? It's almost like guest rights. Like the way that he proves that Luffy and other people in the Straw Hat crew have friendship and can't be attacked by people is making it like that guest rights idea, that if you eat somewhere and somebody houses you and feeds you, then they can't kill you. It's against guest rights. Because
Mhm.
once they have friendship and once they've proven to have become allies, that's the first thing that he has them do is feed Luffy or feed the crew.
There's absolutely that's the case. I think it's because food represents life and sustenance and community in this way that sharing it is an invitation to caring about someone.
Yeah. And so I love that he chooses to do that, and I love that he chose to end the very first arc having a meal, everyone sitting down together and getting to say what they mean to each other and who they are and creating friendships before the Navy knocks on the door. But also, remember when I told you that the very first time that we see Zoro automatically, without thinking, follow Luffy as captain is when the bird scoops Luffy up and takes him away in our next arc?
Yeah.
But it's not. What
No.
we actually see is when we watch him in this eating moment, when the government shows up, and Luffy goes off about, you were a cabin boy on Alvida's pirate ship for 2 years. Watch out for the Navy intelligence. If they find out about your background, they won't enlist you. Boom, Navy shows up. Luffy is like, okay, um, yep, I guess we'll be going now. Thanks for the meal. Zoro looks at him, gives him a questioning side look, and immediately stands up. And as he's walking out, puts his hand on his swords.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
doesn't He doesn't wait or pause. Luffy just says, "Okay, I guess we're going to be going then." It seems like a very simple thing where you're like, Luffy has just decided it's time to leave and let Helmeppo. No, Luffy has made a calculated decision, and Zoro doesn't know if he can trust them yet, and goes to immediately not just protect himself, but if you look at the picture
Mhm.
on page 8 of 20 in chapter 7, he goes just a step in front of Luffy, off to his right hand side, and puts his hands on his swords as if he's like, I'm going to have to protect my captain, I'm afraid, if you get in my way. And then when they go, aren't you going with them? And he screams out, I'm not one of them. And he forces poor Kobe to punch him in the face. It was super interesting because as you're watching it, you realize he already sees Luffy as his captain. He's already putting himself in front of him in the position where they're walking out of the house. He puts himself behind Luffy, in front of Luffy and the Marines, and he keeps positioning himself in every frame so he's who people have to go through first prior to seeing Luffy. And then even when we get down to the water and he's looking at the thing that he calls their ship, he just kind of looks at it and is like, "Yeah, well, I guess this sucks, but here we go." Um, off to the Grand Line in this little boat, which shows way more faith in a person than anyone should have. I've done nothing to earn it. I don't even have an actual ship. I don't know how to navigate. Let's go. So, even though the first time we see him act on his captain on his own, the very first time we see him act as if Luffy is his captain is in the house where he puts his hands on his sword and goes to protect him.
That's a really cool, like, intricate observation. Thank you, Puna, by the way. I'm hoping this will turn out nicely, but we don't, in theory, have that much time left because we'll see how long we want to talk for. It is wild how much jumping off we've done from 7 chapters, by the way, but hey, that's One Piece, isn't it?
It's a whole ass arc.
It true. I mean, like it's 7 chapters, but yes, Man,
Do you like how my son cheated and made the gum fruit be Luffy? He gave it a scar.
but you didn't. Yeah, you asked for Shanks's glare from the scene where he's holding Luffy. The glare's in there. Take a look.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say he cheated by making Luffy's gum fruit have a scar on it, and he's like, that represents Luffy. I don't
Yeah.
mind. I think it's an excellent creative cheat, but
Does it not? Does it not represent Luffy? It's got a little cut.
is it a cheat? Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's
look how
good
much
stuff.
stronger the composition is by not having to force in the entire scene.
Yeah, no, I was surprised you didn't actually stick the knife into the devil fruit.
I thought about it, but I felt like I could do a better three-way thing this way. I thought about a few things. Maybe give Luffy's hair to fruit. Fruits don't have hair though. You must understand, Frostfire. That's mold.
Dexter says Luffy fruit for son.
Man, there are so many little things. The King connection, I think about how interesting it is to compare King being a prisoner, being abused, Kaido showing up and being like, "Hey, I'm here to free you." And he's like,
Yes.
"Who are you?" And he's like, "Look, I'm the guy who's going to change this fucking world, man. Don't you worry about who am I?" Don't you be concerned.
Yes. I love the comparisons of those two friendships. And you're right, you can't help it. You have to.
It feel like, obviously the more direct parallel is supposed to be Silver's Rayleigh being picked up, but it doesn't feel like a direct parallel because Silver's was just hanging out fishing one day. He wasn't imprisoned. King was imprisoned. King was without hope. And Kaido was there to be like, I am the man who will turn this world on its fucking head. I am revolution itself. And King was like, Papa Joy Boy, it's you.
Okay. Do you quickly want to hear stuff that is really just weird backgroundy stuff?
What? Okay, just like little things you've noticed?
No. I went through when I got to the very first page of Romance Dawn, and I was looking at Gold Roger where it said Gold Roger, and I was like, did we go through the meaning of the name Gol ever before? Gol?
I don't know.
And then
I think at some point you brought
realized,
it
up. I don't know. Why would I have? Did I?
I don't know. I thought you did. I thought you looked into it. Or maybe Chatter did. Anyways, please go on.
In Tolkien Elvish language,
Okay, we're off to
it
a
has
great
a
start.
meaning. Goal is a root that means wise or related to knowledge and lore in Tolkien. And apparently Oda is a huge fan of Tolkien's work. In Turkish, it means goal. Apparently Oda is a huge soccer fan. In Persian, it means flower or to bloom. And in Hindu, it's means round or circular. And so I was like, it's an interesting thing because I imagined what it would mean if you blended them all and you saw it as like a clue. His name is a clue. And it could be that it's symbolically all connected in that he is a flower. He is planted for the age to come. He's the circle. He is the completion of a journey. He is the start and the end, that he sends out everyone off on the great time of piracy journey. And the same with finding Laugh-Tale. You go all the way around the world to get there. That he reached the end or the goal, and that he has discovered an ancient truth, but couldn't act on that ancient truth and left it like a seed for the next person.
I'm not going to say you're for sure not insane for this one. However, I think whether or not it's intentional, the fact that all this lines up so interestingly is very cool.
I thought it was so cool. So when I started to look into it and I was like, let's just imagine if you put all these things together, what it could kind of look like. I thought that would be that's a really kind of cool thing. Because if you are somebody like Oda who plants so much meaning in so many things that you do, it'd be neat if you decided, well, let's triple or quadruple entendre this. And then on the top of everything, for him to make his name Roger, when Jolly Rogers are called Jolly Rogers, and then you have Joy Boy, which is the joy, and Roger. I thought that was a really cool connection of
Oh, I
Luffy
hadn't thought
being
about
the
that. That's
joy
really cool.
and him being the Roger, and also it being the Jolly Roger, and that the very first pirate of this era is called Roger. When in there is a lore about the very first pirate's name was Roger, and that's why they called it a Jolly Roger, because he stitched a type of flag that was meant for what he called piracy and put it up. That's just one of the many legends. So I thought that was a cool idea for him to make his actual name be Roger, and he starts off a different kind of piracy era. Yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to go down there because I also had Gol Lum, which the two words put together had a beloved meaning. Where was it? Go.
I mean, it's a mythical creature.
No, but if it's separated, Gol and then Lum, it actually means like a romance or a love, which I thought was
might I indicate
weird.
that his name is not Gol Lum, it is Gol Roger.
I agree. Goldie Roger, thank you.
True.
I agree, but I thought it was interesting since it was called Romance Dawn and you had it being like a beloved, a romance. Lum is like
all right. So
it's like
I want to talk about.
Oh my god, it's like beloved light or the bringer
Okay, but
of
you
light.
are just literally adding in the word Lum.
No, Lum is light.
I know, but like really Lum isn't in Roger's name. You have brought the Lum, and no one invited Lum to the potluck, is what I'm saying.
I absolutely agree. I just think it's an interesting thing. If I was making a name as an author, I know I would think about all those things. I would think deeply. I would think so thematically. People would be like, it can't be all this. They'd be wrong. It would be all of this.
I would think one of two ways. I would either do a lot of precision or just whatever sounds cool. Those are my two ways I write. Now,
I layer.
Look, you gotta sometimes you just want a cool name. Now, I want to talk about something. We ready? The intro as well is something that stuck out to me. The intro is something that stuck out to me as well, right? Because I mentioned this to you when you first started, that something weird about One Piece is it starts off with what feels like a very generic fairy tale opening where it's like, oh, this is the great whatever and so scene setting. And I told you that what's really cool about One Piece is when you were starting, it was just reaching the point where you go, oh, it's delivering on this. It is as big as it says, as it's like it's living up to the scale of what it's saying. And isn't it kind of cool reading this and seeing things like Gold Roger's execution and Luffy swear that he'll be surpassed Shanks, and just thinking of things like him defeating Kaido, becoming Joy Boy, liberating nations, having kings bend the knee to him and swear fealty, arriving on Egghead Island and having the enemies that were too much for us in the past be told by their superiors, don't fight this man without permission. He's an emperor. Isn't it so cool to reread this and think about where Luffy is now? Like,
so nostalgic to think about where our boy has come and where he was. I 100%.
I love to use that word because one of my favorite things about when Murph re-reviewed Romance Dawn, because she felt like she'd been unfair to it when she first started, which interestingly, I don't think you were. So I don't think that's why we're doing this.
But you said you were trying to move me along, but I still moved off.
Yeah. But what I found most interesting about her review was she pointed out that to her, it was so bizarre to have read something so recently and on coming back feel nostalgia. That nostalgia is, she's used to being an old feeling, a feeling that harkens back to a time that is different, and that it is genuinely strange that no matter how recently you read One Piece, when you get through it and come back, isn't it weird how nostalgic it feels?
Oh, I just read it too. Like, remember,
yes,
I just read it.
Yeah, like for me, nostalgia makes sense. I first watched One Piece when I was a teenager, but for you, it's pretty recent.
It's a year.
Yeah.
1 year, and I felt so nostalgic.
It kind of just feels like it's been there forever, right?
I feel like I have always known of Luffy, and I've always been in this world. And seeing him back in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, had that already happened? That's wild. How cool.
And I think that's why One Piece turns you into a pusher, because how do you not want more people you love and care about to experience that feeling? Did you mute again? You muted again? Yeah, you're muted again, by the way. I think you have a hotkey set up. Aw, Puna and Green have enjoyed it as a family. That's awesome. You're back.
I don't have a hotkey.
If you have a hotkey, dude. How does that keep happening when you're clicked away then?
I keep getting silenced. I'm with Dexter. I get too close to the truth and they silence me.
Okay, so on the note of how it is not to be a pusher, we said we'd talk a bit about the start of this. Can I be frank about why this started from my perspective?
Okay, go ahead.
I went, man, I love these One Piece React series. Totally Not Mark's was great. My favorite was Murph's. And I went, seeing someone who comes from a literature background, has a lot of experience with stories, and doesn't know about manga was so cool. I wish I could provide that, but I'm already a One Piece fan. And then I went, wait a minute. My mom is the type of person who is a good speaker, is good at media analysis, comes from a background of literature, and I want to take an interest in what's going on in my life. I have this small stream I'm starting out that I want to get better at and I want to grow. And I felt like the best way I could get you to finally read One Piece was to say, hey, do you want to be part of my stream? I think people will really watch it. What went through your head when you decided to go through with it? Because I wasn't sure you'd be interested.
Well, you were sneaky and tricksy because I always want to help you with things like as your DNA contributor when you are trying out new areas in your life and trying to broaden things that are meaningful to you. I'm always like, yeah, I want to help in that. Like I'm your biggest fan. I'm there first.
Aw.
And then so when you were like, yes, this would be a very helpful thing for me, I was like, well, that's a tricksy. Keep in mind, people, that what people may forget is that Drawk had been like banned from talking about One Piece at family functions because he would work so hard every time we were at a family function to get me to read it that people were finally like, you can't talk about this anymore. We don't want to hear it. And then he called me up with this idea and said what he just told you. And and I was like, you sneaky little monkey. And then what was that dude who said that line that we both remembered and you were like, that was the line that you finally thought kind of pushed you over the edge?
This is a weird one. Guys, I want everybody to try. I want everybody briefly, please chat, it's a game. Try to guess what YouTuber said a line so beautiful that it stuck out to my mom and was one of the things that pushed her over the edge and being like, okay, I need to give this a shot at some point. Because I think this line convinced you that at some point you were going to read it before I brought up the series. And then the series I mentioned shortly after this.
It was like weirdly like a couple of months before you said it, before you came up with this idea, you had read this line to me and I was like, God dang, okay, yeah, I do have to read it eventually. Okay. And then you came up with this specific idea and I was
and it was a reason to act on that.
Yeah.
Okay, people have tried to guess. Guys, I don't watch Asmongold. Don't put that on me. Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Come on, please. Please don't suggest I would. Grand Line Review. No. Here's where. Guys, you ready? The YouTuber who said it was Alpha Rad. And you might go, Alpharad doesn't make video essay content or say insightful things. He's a goofy boy. You would be correct. Alpharad has a Let's Play channel, and at one point he was just hanging out and playing a video game. And he said he was just, look, Alpharad's funny. He's good. At some point he just goes, what's great about One Piece is the entire time you're reading it at first, you don't realize that it's planting the seeds to a garden that you don't know exists yet. And the rest of the series is exploring that garden. And that is fucking beautiful.
And I just thought, like, if there is one thing that I love reading a story that takes its time to plant seeds and then lets me see the fruition of that growth. There is almost nothing that's going to get me to read a story more than if somebody says to me, it takes its time, it plants the seeds, and then you reap the harvest. That's my thing.
And maybe that's the best way to look at things, like the arcs of characters like Helmeppo and Kobe, where Oda is such a patient and kind storyteller to the story he's telling that it's not about planning. Everyone hypes up planning, but I think it's care beyond planning. Because whether or not he knew exactly what was going to happen with Helmeppo, he returned to where he planted the seeds and went, what water do you need? What light do you need to be the most beautiful part of this garden? And gave that character exactly what he needed. Like it's not about everything was planned. It's about recognizing that he is responsible. He's the caretaker for all of these choices. And he returns to them with patience and diligence. And that's beautiful.
And something that I think is really important to me as a reader, because I talked about this with Melanie, and she's like, well, you know, we all trust Oda as an author, and that's why we follow. And I was like, to me, what's more incredible is that Oda trusts us to trust him. That he knows that if he goes off on a tangent and he takes a long time to deliver a thing we can feel coming, we feel it coming, and he just holds it off and builds that anticipation, he knows we trust him enough to deliver. And he allows himself to take that time because he knows we'll come along.
It's why when people were mad, like we weren't given a real reason that Yamato didn't join the crew. Look, I was heartbroken when Yamato didn't draw, but like, I went, look, I'm sad,
amazing,
but we have to have trust that there is a reason, that there is some purpose. And then chapters later, we found out. It's why I don't think the distrust people have often is warranted, because so often he comes back. Okay, what's this about Professor? I love the Professor. Professor of Tulare Community College said this on Saturday.
Community,
oh, you read it.
I'll read it out loud because you're drawing.
I'm drawing.
Said on Saturday, it's Saturday morning. My kid has full permission to watch TV, play video games, whatever. He's reading One Piece books. It's his favorite thing. He's on volume 25. I legit caught him reading under the covers when he was supposed to be sleeping a few nights back. Amazing. Thank you, Arikyo Oda. Dude, Oda.
Can I say something really sad that this reminded me of? Don't put this in the video. This video should be focused as much as is humanly possible.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for putting that on.
I love the Professor. Something that makes me sad is I look at how much better I've gotten at media analysis, how much more ambition I'm feeling in my personal projects, aside from, like, I feel like I love doing this, and I'm also feeling confidence and ambition to do other media projects without you as well. And I think I can become a more and more successful YouTuber. And it made me sad to realize that with the state of things in the United States, if I were to be big enough that the professor of the Tulare Community College invited me on, I don't think I'd feel safe crossing the border right now. Like, enough people have been detained, and I am vocal enough against the current administration of the US. Do I think it's likely? No, but I'm not taking the 1% chance that an ICE agent...
Lots of people have been pulled aside and put in by ISIS
now,
for things just on their phone.
Is it the majority? No, it's very rare, but the ICE agents and border security agents are being given so much leeway and personal discretion that I genuinely don't feel safe. Like, I don't feel like, I think it's a 1% chance. The vast majority of Canadians who come to the US are going to be fine. Even people who are a vocal creator.
Can I tell you that in the last presidency of the deformed orange orangutan pickle, I was going across the border and flying somewhere, and I was still in Calgary. And when I printed my tickets out, they said SSSS on them, which stood for I can't remember what, but it was a special security screening something. And I can't believe he decided to use a quadruple S. I was pulled out of line and searched in a way you can't imagine. And I had been very vocal online and in social media about it. And then I had all of my gear got through. Usually you either kind of get pulled down, patted down and a few things, or have a gear check. Then they took all of my gear out of my bag and went over every single piece with cotton balls and stuff to make sure I wasn't bringing something down. And then I got to the top. I thought I'd gotten through. It took a full half hour of screening for me in the bottom. And then they pulled me aside and made me come to the front and prove my face and ID again. And then they called a list an hour later, and everyone on the list was clearly of a certain origin. They all came from the same country, all of their names, and me. And we all went up and had to show our ID and face again. And at the time, I had been an incredibly vocal anti-Trump person.
Yeah.
And I found it highly suspicious. And then my tickets the way home, once again, SSSS.
So Drawk is a family name. Drawk is a made-up name. It's a portmanteau of draw and talk.
Draw and talk. So yeah, I would never let the deformed orange orangutan pickle have the pleasure of not having the pleasure of killing me or putting me aside.
So yeah, that's my little sad note of, like, I think I would love nothing more in the world. I could think of no YouTube event I would rather than going to Shuffle Up and playing Commander with the Tolarian Community College professor. He is a gift to the Magic the Gathering community. He is one of my favorite creators ever. He's just a cringe, happy old man who is so good for frankly, a community that in no way deserves someone as good as him. And I don't know, it just sucks to think that right now I would not feel safe going to guest on his show. Hey, but if Elder Dragon Hijinks, who film on webcam, want to get me, you got me. He's traveled to do it. He could go to Canada. Guys, he's not gonna, I don't have a set. I don't have a proper filming studio. He's not gonna come to, I'm not a big deal also. And he probably doesn't feel safe crossing the border much right now either.
Canada, if you want to come to Canada, you really do want to get to see Vancouver Island. We're kind of special. I don't know if you've heard of this. The #1 search in the world right now is Tofino.
Green, first of all, you watch TCC. Look, I love Tolarian Community College. I'm not a big enough deal yet that I could be on, but I think I could get there within the next year or so if I put a lot of work in. And it's just sad to think that, like, that's a thing I can't do. But hey, maybe things get better. He is literally a ferry away, but I still don't trust the ferry border.
Yeah, you're going to need to work with me, Drawk, so I don't murder you.
Yeah.
Oh, if you murder someone you contributed DNA to, is it just retrieving DNA?
No. Technically, actually, legally, people, you're going to find this crazy. People aren't considered objects or property legally.
I can't just take my DNA back?
No. However, children are increasingly being seen as property of their parents legally, and I think it's actually an atrocious movement that is routed it's an atrocious movement that's routed in authoritarian thinking, and it's incredibly bad for humanity that we are having it happen.
KP makes a really good point. We probably should consult a lawyer just to be sure.
Okay, so One Piece MTG crossover when? I hope it happens, dude. I will buy the shit out of that secret lair. I hope it's not a set, though. I think Universes Beyond sets, they need to be really precise with what they pick.
We need to stay on
Spider-Man's
topic,
a terrible choice. Let's stay on topic. Guys, Romance Dawn. Do we have any thoughts? Do we have any specific things we want to talk about?
Romance Dawn, because I have to go in, but can I just something that I found very interesting and very early again, page frickin' 14 of chapter 1. He got so much done in chapter 1.
Okay.
I think we saw a little bit of it come back when we met Blackbeard, which is in a very important moment with Bellamy when he was learning about when it is and is not time to fight. But that moment happening in chapter 1 is way too big not to have a major callback in some of our final battle.
You're right.
When
We
the
have
mountain
had. Oh God, yeah. We have had
when the mountain
it
people
mentioned
come
a few
down
times.
and he doesn't fight, and then he talks to Luffy about,
Oh my God.
I can clean up a little bit of this or that, but yeah, why would I take a person's life for something so small?
Funny.
What does he say? Here it is. Captain, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. He made you look like a weakling. Why didn't you fight him? Sure, they outnumbered you and maybe they look pretty tough, blah, blah, blah. And he says, when you grow up, maybe you'll understand, kid. So that'll also be a sign for us about Luffy's maturity in a different way. He just got some grog on me, that's all. Needless killing doesn't make you a man. And so I think we're going to have that come back at some point in the final battle.
I want to point out here that you just made me think of something very interesting. You pointed out that this scene is most called back to in Jaya.
Blackbeard.
When Bellamy is bugging him. And yes, Blackbeard is a character so tied to Shanks. And who is the character that hypes up Luffy for how he acts in that moment?
Blackbeard.
The character most tied to Shanks. God, dude,
I'm telling you. There's a reason. And so when we're having final battles, and
I've never thought about that before.
With Blackbeard and Shanks being in this, we're going to have a callback to that. Something is going to occur. I don't know yet what it is because I was just reading it and I was like, there's no way in hell this critical scene where he legitimately just says, when you grow up, when you're a real man, when you grow up and you're a man, maybe you'll understand.
Yep. Oh, man.
So I think that's one of the ways that we're going to understand, like, when to not let insult end somebody's life.
There's so much too. This is so interesting. So did Shanks pity Blackbeard or choose not to fight? The thing is, no, we know that's not the case 100%. This is why Blackbeard's stock should be higher. Shanks told the people Whitebeard, I wasn't holding back or being careless. That is objectively what Shanks told Whitebeard about his scars. That it was what it was.
Saying he's pretending to be weaker than he is for effect.
Yes, exactly. That wasn't a moment of Shanks holding back suddenly. That one was a moment of Blackbeard briefly being like, I want to know if I'm as strong as I think I am.
Yep. And also I think that when you're Blackbeard and you're playing the long game and you don't care what people think about you, every once in a while that breaks free. And suddenly you're like, but shit, I want someone to know I could take him out.
Yeah, like objectively, Shanks says, just so everyone's aware, hey audience, just so you know, I'm looking at you. I wasn't holding back or being careless. I was on my best. I'm a man who can see 10 seconds into the future, and that fucker cut me.
Yeah, what if Blackbeard kills Shamrock and the world thinks he killed Shanks?
Actually, the more I think about the association with Blackbeard and Cerberus, I kind of want him to not have a Cerberus fruit. I want him to have a fruit that is based off of Emu, that's the god of the void, but he takes Shamrock's sword. That's what I want more and more. It's been a moment since you read or watched that scene. Green, that's so fair, but look, there's a reason I don't forget, and it's because I'm Blackbeard's #1 defender. I will be here to remind you, the man should have respect on his name.
And there's a reason I don't forget it, and it's I literally read this all in a year. Sitting here said, when your DNA is mixed with your spouse's, that may Drawk a derivative of your DNA, and it is therefore protected by copyright as an original work. Well, you're safe.
That's very funny.
Congratulations, Drawk.
Oh man, typical pro Blackbeard agenda.
Anyway.
Look, as we go back to the series, I'm going to be finding more and more places to get people on board the Blackbeard agenda. Because again, I haven't ever read most of One Piece.
I am going to make more and more opportunities to show you how everything is set up, and there are crazy, crazy theories, and they're correct.
I'm excited for you to make this. You are going to single-handedly with this series make the One Piece fan base more insane.
Yeah, I really am, and I'm so stoked about it. When this one comes out as it is, they're going to be like, "What?"
Can I recommend a video to you that's going to feel so validating?
Okay.
Totally Not Mark is a great video essayist. He is good at observing. I think he tends to be a little too positive about stuff. There's a lot of series that he has found no flaws with that I think have some deep flaws, but he is very honest about his observation. He did
I really like a person who comes from a nice perspective. It's rare.
Yeah. He did a blind read through of One Piece, reviewing all the arcs. It was great. And he decided after the fact, he didn't want to be a weekly One Piece YouTuber because he wants his channel to be what it is, which is doing what he wants, which is mostly going through new series. But because of that, he never keeps up. Yeah, his Dragon Ball series is amazing. He never keeps up with weekly releases. Instead, when an arc finishes, he reads it all, but he doesn't read it all and then make a video. He reads it in chunks, records and writes a section, reads another chunk, etc., etc. And I want you to imagine something. Imagine you having the hindsight you have now and seeing the insanity of a person trying to solve what the One Piece is, like we are, reading Egghead bit by bit and just looking at all of the theories they can go over. It is so validating because the man is driven completely insane so quickly.
And he's doing it alone.
Yes, from my understanding, he is doing it alone.
I remember what it was like to do it alone and have you thwart me and genie me.
I needed to do my best to not cheat, to not let you cheat. It was hard. Broly sent up his Wano video thinking Yamato would join. Yeah.
You know how I feel about cheating. Cheating is for cheaters who cheat.
Yeah, you just want to rule exploit and edge case.
No, if people say things in the chat, that doesn't count as cheating. That's just me using information. Thank you so much, Punahu.
Thank you for being here.
You know what? I'm calling you Hoogie.
Okay, I'm just gonna call you Puna, but Mama can do as Mama pleases.
Well, Hoogie is 11 years younger than me.
Okay. Okay.
Well, it says 84.
Punaho. It's ho. Okay, Punaho is easy. I can say that.
Oh, Punaho, I can say. Done!
Yeah, there's just a lot of things that there's a lot of things that are not as pronounced as easily as that I would just do a short form because I'm not going to say it right.
But she's still a Hoogie girl.
Okay. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we wrap it up for this today stream today?
Race for Revenge is not wrong because aloha! Oh my god, they're in Hawaii. Go to enjoy delicious Hawaiian food. I'm so jealous. I'm not even gonna think about it.
Wait, is Puna in Hawaii? I think Green Entertainer was in Hawaii. I thought it was just legit Hawaiian who was in Hawaii.
No, legit Hawaiian is not in Hawaii. They're just a legitimately Hawaiian person, not in Hawaii.
I thought they were in Hawaii. Puna is not in Hawaii. We have learned. Just a Hawaiian school name. The person
is in Hawaii because it says aloha.
Oh, you are from Hawaii, but you live in Maryland now.
But I live in Maryland.
There we go. That makes sense. See? So neither of our Hawaiians are in Hawaii, is what I've learned.
God dang it. Now all I'm doing is thinking of Hawaiian food. Well done, 99.
Well, I've never had Hawaiian food, so I'm not.
I am. Ah! All right, here we go.
Is poke Hawaiian?
No, but they have things similar to that.
Okay.
Okay. Chapter 5 is very important in Romance Dawn.
Okay, so there is more you need to talk about. You weren't answering that question.
I was busy.
Fair enough. Let's go.
All I wanted to talk about from chapter 5 was a couple of little things we learned about Luffy already being like, bro, is Leroy Jenkins. Act first, think later. Because I loved when we got to we got to see a little bit of impetuousness early on in it, and that's great, and a little bit of strangeness of stabbing ourselves in the face and a few other mild moments. But when he
Mild,
grabbed
yes.
Helmeppo and bounced him all over the place and was like, "Where are your swords? They're inside." "Oh, I'm gonna go get them," and then just walked in without any fear and then just started doing it. It reminded me of a thing that I don't think about often, and it's that if you just act with confidence, people are like, "What the hell?
Yeah, you
What's
can
going
usually
on?"
just do
And
stuff. Yeah.
you can kind of just do stuff. And Luffy is the number one indicator of that. And
This is an
him
actual
just being like, "Yeah, I'm going
life
to go in
hack.
now."
This is an actual life hack
Yeah.
I'm going to give everybody. If you can learn how to act confidently enough, you can get away with like 90% of things. Now, I'm not talking about crimes, but the thing is, if you just act in a way where you pretend, or at least give the air of you're not aware that social expectation is different than the behavior you're currently giving, everyone, all of the heuristics that are in their brain calculating the way things are supposed to go, that let them, the human brain calculates too much. Life is too complicated to function without heuristics. Heuristics are like basically shortcuts of thinking of this is the way this goes. And when you break all of those, you can just kind of do anything. You can just kind of move. Not in a criminal way, because there's usually borders in place.
I just life hack everything. I'm a
Yeah.
super tall person. I'm female, so people try to keep me out of spaces more, and it still doesn't work because I just take my super tall person. If I really want to get away with doing something, I put on heels too, because then I'm like 6'6". Enjoy that. And then I walk into a place as if I own it with my shoulders up so high, people are afraid to say anything. And if they look at me, I give them the specialist look ever that makes them be like, "I'm not going to ask her. Someone else will take care of that." And then I just do whatever I want.
Hey, chat, are you ready to be attacked, chat? Are you ready to be attacked for real?
That is how the Mona Lisa disappeared, people. That's how I got it.
Guys, are you ready to be attacked? Chat, you're about to be attacked. This is important. This is important for you to be attacked now.
Don't be rude to my squishies.
Squishies, do you know why you're all bringing up all the bad people who do this? Because you want an excuse not to self-actualize.
That is actually true. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Bad people do it. You can tell. Trump does it all the time.
Yes, of course bad people do it. That is how Trump gets away with everything. That is literally how he does it.
But good people do it all the time. Go in there and get it done.
No, good people also need to do this. It is genuinely a strength of character to be willing to push for your virtues against social expectation.
How do I get kids put into programs that they belong into, but nobody will put them in because of funding? I force it.
Just do it.
I tell them it's going to happen. I said, "Well, you'll find the money later. I'm bringing them in now." But you just make it happen.
Advocates are so good at this. Like, if you're a professional advocate, like you kill about this.
I advocate for children all the time, and I make sure that they get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And need. Okay, squishies, listen to me. Tomorrow is a day of confidence. This is why you all should have been in theater. Tomorrow is the day that you say to yourself, from sunup to sundown, I'm the single most confident person because I'm hot. Why would you argue if you were hot or not? Why are you questioning your hotness? There's no need. We're a floating rock flying through space. You're hot. You don't have to argue with people. Walk around, have confidence. You're brilliant. You're attractive. You're interesting.
That's beautiful. I like that. I think I could have done better, but I think I'll get better at this render style as we go. I think this is good enough for now.
Let me look at it. Make it big so I can see.
Sorry, I've been zooming in and out. Normally I don't do that, but it's a more detailed style, so I didn't think I could really get away with not.
Let me see. Oh, you know what that says to me? Make it even bigger.
We're at max size, dude. This is as much as we can do. As much as we can do.
There we go. Finally, I can see it.
This art is actualized.
This would be a great tattoo. This would actually be, it's a combination of a couple of styles of tattooing. Because you have the realism within the knife, and then the cartoon kind of manga look that has more of a traditional tattoo. So with those two things,
I kind of like layering realistic render style over cartoony shapes. It's fun for me. I enjoy it. It would make
Fully
a good
from Lolly
sticker.
Drop. If no, sticker schmicker, I want it to be an iron-on. If patch, if we're gonna do this,
An
people
iron-on
can get their own
patch.
tattoos. I wonder if we should turn everybody's tattoos into an iron-on patch.
That'd be really fucking cool. You can just buy a patch for any arc then.
Because it's, and I would want, honestly, now I want a jacket with every arc's patch that you create.
This sounds, let me tell
tattoo
you,
idea.
that sounds maddening to put together. Like go for it, but also you're going to be insane. Hey, everybody, thank you for being here. You all rule. I like how this turned out. Look, here's the deal. I don't actually like it that much looking at it the size I'm looking at it, but looking at the size you guys are looking at it, where it's a little bit compressed in a little window, like if I zoom out like that, that's good. That's good. I think it just doesn't hold up to the full
wrong.
zoom.
It's perfect.
Well, you can be wrong. It's okay.
Crazy?
Insane. We're all insane here. Merch stream.
They locked me up in a rubber room with rats. Rats make me crazy.
Who's excited for us to look more and more crazy? With Alexander, can you write that in our work Discord so that Lav knows to get that email, Alexander, because apparently they are the world's only Syrup Village stan.
Oh my god, there's a Syrup Village stan?
Apparently it's Alec.
That's
it's in chat right
amazing.
now. Alex Zand, sir. We do need one of those. I think we should see if Murph wants to do Orange Town because she's a Buggy fan. No worries, Haberfax. We're done anyways. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here, everybody. We're gonna raid our old friend Oak because
good luck with your masters. Kill it all the way.
We're gonna try to do less insane cooking outside of Tinfoil Talk, and Tinfoil Talk will be our recap episodes every 4 or 5. Tinfoil Hat Talk, whatever.
It goes Tinfoil Talk, which is normal TikToking around, and the next one is Tinfoil Hat Talk, where we put our tin hats together and talk.
I thought it was Tinfoil Piece was this, and then Tinfoil Talk was the recap.
Tinfoil Piece, you're right. Tinfoil Piece and Tinfoil
adding
Hat
talk means it's like an after show, like The Talking Dead, etc., etc.
And then you're all the Tinfoil Hat crew. Yeah, that's
he
right.
was on the Reverie with you guys. I don't remember names well, guys. I'm bad at those.
Who was on the Reverie with us? This man?
Alex.
Was he the one who was? Was he the one who was quiet and had dark hair?
I'm so bad at names.
Because remember, I was saying I had to watch the Reverie again to remember who that person was. Because
the Quiet Boy. Okay.
Boy. I loved the Quiet Boy.
The skinny guy with glasses. Yeah, he was nice. I liked him.
He was so nice, and he was very thoughtful.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I am not thoughtful and quiet. And when people can be, I respect the patience and strength of character that must require of them.
I'm super quiet at work, which I know you're going to find hard to believe, but you're an extrovert all the way, and I'm 60% introvert. So when I go to work, I just watch people a lot. Not in the classroom. The classroom, I'm full loud, full time.
I'm like an extrovert all the way, but I'm like 80% at least.
Yeah. I'm 40% extrovert.
I see you definitely didn't talk too much on the stream. I see you're the New Yorker, right? Like I'm not crazy. Or the Long Islander? Was that someone else?
I loved Syrup Village. Dancing
No, you're the Texan, right? No, you didn't talk too much. I got your name confused with
honest mood with work silence.
Why can't I remember anyone's names? I remember your voices and I don't remember your names. No. NX Love. It was NX Love was the Long Islander. I'm so sorry for not remembering your names, guys. If it makes sense, I remember details about you and I remember your voices. I'm just so bad at names. I mean, here's the issue, Ralph. I also used to be face blind.
Yeah, he really did, which is weird when you're an artist.
I genuinely had to the only reason I'm not face blind anymore is because I did enough practice at faces to make up for it that my brain started to build the pathways. Like getting better at art actually cured face blindness.
I don't remember names at all, but that's why I make names up for children at school. I give children new names. They're me names. And then I remember faces perfectly. And if I see your face, I'll tell you everything I've ever learned about you.
Guys, I need to, before we go, I want to talk a little bit, this is to you guys, this is for the VOD. I have advice for you. This is the best thing you
Yes,
can
I
do, and
am.
also the worst thing you can do. Never in a Discord where there's two really fit, like bodybuilder athlete type people try to talk about the workout you're doing, or you will get bullied into doing far more. Yesterday, guys, the other day, I was like, I should do squats again. I think I've done enough jogging that my knees don't click anymore because I've built the muscles up. And I was like, I want to do 100 squats. And then I was in pain for the next few days. And then I'm like, I want to do more leg days, so I'm going to do another leg day. And I told the Discord I'm in, and the bodybuilders in it were like, yo, bro, you know that the reason people don't do leg days, not just because legs are boring, it's because leg muscles are so stressed in everyday life that if you don't do a leg exercise to exhaustion, like to the point that your form breaks, it won't actually put on any muscle at all. Your legs actually need to be pushed to exhaustion or they don't build muscle. And I was like, that's bullshit. And they were like, nope, it's true. So I thought I could pick up a weight to get through it faster, but I'd already done 100 squats. And I was like, I kind of want to see how far I can push this. Like, how far can I bring it? Guys, I did 300 squats yesterday.
That is a decision you made, which I will call dumb.
I was bullied. They were like, look, literally because of how strained your legs are from everyday use, you can't put on muscle if you don't go to exhaustion. So I was like, guess I'm going to exhaustion then.
I'm exhausted listening to this story. You know what I'm going to do to
I don't have a
make
machine
this
for leg
better?
presses.
I'm going to get
What's that?
myself some Canadian ginger ale and some Canadian Hawkins cheesies. That's what I'm going to do.
Can I tell
Hawkins
you,
cheesies and ginger ale.
You want to talk about Canadian? In my thermos is a Tim Hortons steep tea. Out there, Canada Dry ginger ale.
I have Canada Dry ginger ale in my mouth.
And in here,
and I have
Yeah, you go first.
I have Hawkins cheesies in a bowl.
Well, in here, and you might find this crazy, in here is bad water. You might think, what's bad water? Well, imagine if you need more protein in your life, so you put 1 scoop of protein powder in your water. Now it's bad water.
Ew.
It's water that's bad.
That's disgusting. Oh, I'm horrified on your behalf.
Dexter, I mean, no, I guess Frankie pre-time skip actually did kind of have legs. He wasn't all skinny legs back then. I actually, thinking about it, other than the giant forearms, I actually think if I was working out as much as I am hoping I'll be able to, I actually think forearms aside, pre-time skip Frankie is about it. Yeah, because he's got kind of thick legs, but not crazy, and just a stupidly wide torso, which is, like, you can't tell because my head is really big, but my torso is too wide. Like, rib cage too big. His shirts don't fit me right.
Drawk has both his indigenous side and his Scottish side got together and said, what if two-hand battle axe?
I need smaller lungs for real. Honestly. Although I actually think my chest being so big is the only reason I have semi-decent cardio with how bad my feet are and how big I am. Because normally when people have a really big build like I do, they struggle more with cardio. I think my giant lungs are the only reason my cardio is halfway decent.
All right, Drawk. You're off topic too much. It's time to go.
Look, we did a bit of off topic at the beginning. I wanted to end with a bit of off topic. Just chatting with the squishos.
We need to do our last thing first. And our last thing is this.
Oh, we have to do top 5.
We need to give it a top 5 moments from here and a grade
favorite clue.
That we would give this.
And a grade?
My
and a favorite
clue. My favorite clue is going to be first.
Okay, go favorite clue.
I like that in Romance Dawn. Because even though it should maybe be the hockey in the straw hat, for me, I like that this one made me realize that all the islands are controlled to keep people from moving them because of the king, the Neptunes. And so I like that I realized that there are prison guards at the islands.
I think my favorite clue is a clue you pointed out. My favorite clue. Oh, we got to do a plug in special squishies. God, we skipped a lot today. We're off our game.
Yeah, we'll do that.
My favorite clue is something you pointed out, which is thinking about the statement. I forgot about this and I skimmed over it this read. the narrator saying that they made one mistake while they were there, and that being Kobe, that ties in so well with Kobe saying he's going to stop Luffy from achieving his dream. It's fucking brutal, but it speaks so highly of the themes of One Piece, because Kobe is someone who wants to make the world better more than anyone else, and Luffy's who inspired him to pursue that dream. Fucking, that's good writing. That's brilliant. I loved you pointing that out. That's so good. All right, you do a plug. Remember, on longer videos, Lav demands shorter plugs. Shorter plugs for longer videos is what Lav said.
No. While I'm doing the plug, you're going to find Squishy
I'm picking a Squish show right now.
Number 19.
19?
Hi there, YouTube. It's me, Mama Drawk. Come along with us
for
19. Tinfoil Talk as we 12. As we move. Okay, now you've ruined everyone. We're starting again. Lav, that doesn't count.
Lav, that doesn't count. That wasn't a long plug. That was my bad. Hey,
that
if it makes you
feel fault.
If it makes you feel better, I did that too on purpose.
You're the brattiest brat in Bratville. Okay, am I ready now? Are you gonna be a bad kid again?
Yes, okay. Go for it.
Hi there, YouTube. See, he's the baddest kid. Hi there, YouTube. It's me and Mama Drawk with the baddest kid in town, Drawk. I'm here to let you know that we're doing a new thing called Tinfoil Talk. We're moving our way back through all of One Piece.
It's called Tinfoil Piece.
In their favorite arc. Tinfoil Piece. They're starting again. Squishy, someone count me in from 5. This is bullshit.
Well, you gotta say the name right.
No, you're right. You're not wrong, but I need to be counted. Whoa, holy shit, this is the greatest countdown in the final countdown. Oh, right. Hi there, YouTube. It's me, Mama Drawk. Welcome to Tinfoil Piece. It's a talk where we go back through all of One Piece, starting from Romance Dawn, which we did today together, and going all the way into the future with people who could tell us why it is that an arc is their favorite. It's our reread with friends. And then we take all the clues and the interesting stuff because we get together for Tinfoil Hat Talk, where we put our tinfoil hats together, make some theories, and try to find this damn One Piece. Where is it? We'll find out. And together with our friends, we will get deeply into it. And today, I will have to admit, things went awry. Some theories were made. They were deep. They were weird. They were wonderful. You definitely want to be a piece of that. If you want to get involved with the Patreons, we'd love to have you. Once a month, our Patreon in the crew get to come on and have chat with us. We're going to be doing, what are they called that everyone loves so much?
Tier lists?
Truck's not. Thank you. We're going to be doing tier lists together with our crew once a month, and answering strange questions like, who is your very favorite villain? And the one that Drawk likes more, which is, who is your favorite henchman?
I think that's more interesting.
We're gonna be hanging out. You're not wrong. So we're going to be hanging out with our crew once a month, and they get to come on live with us. So if you want to be a part of that, you can subscribe in that way. That's all I want to say because Lav will literally beat me up and I'll have to hear about it forever.
Yeah, I gotta say 3 things. Number 1, that was not short. Number 2, did you or did you not very briefly get distracted from what you were doing and almost just keep doing the final countdown for a while?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, someone just said in chat, it scrolled away. I'm scrolling up. Hoagie Man said they've been designing a tattoo for weeks and it's almost identical to this except for the knife. Maybe add a knife. I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Shut up. That's amazing.
That's crazy, dude. Okay.
Rafe agrees with me. That was a short ass freaking.
No, they said it's
YouTube
as short as
talk.
you. They said it was as short as you, who are 6'2".
And I'm super short.
You're very tall. They were saying it was long. Hey, thank you to our special squishy. Ficho champ. Ficho amp? Ficho map.
Try again.
Ficho map. Thank you, Ficho map.
Why don't you spell it?
Phichomap. Ficho map. And thank you to our crew, Dark A Kuro, Draco Meme, Dr. Jack, and Icy, or Icy Knives for long. All right.
Okay. Now we have to decide what is our top 5 things in here.
Top 5 characters. and then we'll grade the arc. I think Luffy is off. I don't think we need to grade Luffy on the tier of Luffy's. We did that the first road through. I think we can keep that separate. I think we're going to agree with where Luffy stands. So I think we're going to grade the arc each, and then we're going to do a top 5 together. Which one do you want to do first?
Top 5.
Top 5. Okay. You pick the first character. Who's first on your list? And this isn't about their performance in the arc. I wanted to know, this is who you enjoyed in the reread, which means with the context of the future, who did you enjoy most here?
I'm sorry. I know who you're going to pick, but I'm picking Shanks.
Shanks is number 1?
I miss Shanks so much all the time. When
He barely exists in this story.
When I read him here and saw him, I was like, oh my God, it's Shanks. I miss you so much. You got to come back, Shanks. Shit's gone wild.
You're saying Zoro number 2 already, chat? I think Zoro's my number 3 pick because number 2 is Kobe. Shockingly, Kobe has more of a presence here. And if we're talking about what we enjoy for the future, at first I was enjoying Zoro more. But when we get to the end and we see the moment of Luffy forcing Kobe to be his enemy so that he can pursue his dream, it made what happened in Egghead for Kobe so much the fuck stronger. Like, Jesus,
I will agree.
Jesus, the impact of reading that now is crazy. Hey, like, literally, you asked me 6 months ago and I'm saying Zoro is number 2. That's not the case anymore.
I'm saying Zoro is number 3, though. Zoro,
yeah, of course,
was magnificent. And to see how Zoro was Zoroing so hard, how he just was the same dude. Like, has he learned things? Yes. Has he grown? Yes. Is he a bigger dude? Yes. He put himself through all that training. He understood what he needed to do. He's a different boy, but he's the same boy. And it was really cool to see just how this, oh, thank you so much, Requisat. How cool this kid is and how we have a thread of one character who doesn't go off all crazy in a new direction. Zoro just quietly and confidently moves forward in himself.
I fully agree. Guys, you know I gotta do it to you. Number 4 is Helmeppo. Did he suck here? Yes.
No!
At no point was he enjoyable here. But if we're doing this in the context of a reread, his arc is so well laid up here. It is so delivered on. It's crazy. He sucks here, but again, I'm ranking this as a reread. I'm not ranking it as its own. And goddamn Helmeppo is delivered on as this goes on. He doesn't beat Zoro.
I
don't think he should be number 3, but I think he should be number 4 for sure.
That's upsetting and true.
Right?
And
again, pre-Egghead, I wouldn't say that necessarily. Who are you going to pick?
As the 5th person, I'm going to pick the crew of Shanks.
I think that counts as one guy.
Yeah, they are one person according to me in this moment. You can't just pick one out.
What are you going to pick? Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo?
It would be dude who shoots the dude in the head.
So it'd be Lucky Roo. And then Ben Beckman plays baseball.
Yeah, but I really think it's just all of them together. Oh, shit. No, you're right. You know what, crew? Bye. You're off. My good buddy Rafe made a good point. It's Roger.
His 2 panels, or like 4 panels. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to disagree. You're right. You're right. You're right as hell.
The fact that I didn't remember it is upsetting because seeing Roger in the beginning of this thing, I actually giggled out loud. I went,
you know what's crazy is I think by the end of the series, this list would change for us and Roger would maybe be the number 1.
You're not wrong.
I could actually see that. All right. So our rankings,
possibility.
Our rankings were number 1 Shanks, number 2 Zoro, so number 2 Kobe, number 3 Zoro, number 4 Helmeppo, and number 5 Gold Roger. I think that's a good list for this arc. I think that's really good.
Yeah, we got some good people in this arc. This arc is popping.
Where do you rank it? Here's the issue, right? We have to rank it on an insane curve.
I'm not ranking it against other things. I'm ranking it against itself.
I'm ranking it against One Piece, which is why I'm grading on a curve. If I were ranking this to all manga, this would be like a solid A to me. Because I'm ranking this against One Piece arcs, I am giving it a C+, which seems low.
That's funny.
You know where we're going. You know the heights we're reaching.
No, I am marking this very different than Drawk. Drawk is drunk.
I'm not drunk. I'm a good teacher.
I am marking this against itself as a standalone story, and I think I'm going to mark all of them as a standalone story. If I'm marking it inside of One Piece itself, it's a C+. That is not a lie.
Okay, fair. So how about that's the way we do it, is we're both grading differently, and that's why our grades are different as we go.
But
no. C+ is only 78 for you weird Americans. Americans have have an insane system of grades. We're ranking on the Canadian, European, most of the rest of the world system, where an 86 is an A. You bastard Americans.
I'm going to mark it as itself, as if it's a standalone story, and whether I would enjoy this as a standalone moment story, and I would go, that was cool. That was a really good story. In that case, I'm giving it an 84.
I think that's reasonable. I think
that's a B+ in university and a B in high school because we're dumb.
I'm making Americans jealous that 86 gets to be an A.
86 is an A.
Look, I'm not changing how I think about this based off of what Americans believe. But yeah, I think it's cool if we do it in two different systems, honestly. If I'm grading it compared to other arcs and you're grading it as a standalone story, I think that's really cool.
From now on, you'll grade it off of other arcs and I'll grade it as a standalone story.
Yeah, I'm grading the class of One Piece on a bell curve, and it's an insane curve.
But I think we can both influence each other.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think you're wrong, though. Yeah, no, weirdly enough, the US is really metric with their grading system. Yes, someone pointed that out. It is bizarre. You guys figured out that metric systems are cool for one thing.
For one thing and one thing only. Okay, don't ignore me. My coolness is off the charts right now. Are you doing all the inner bits and pieces right now?
I'm just doing some fine detailing while we're
Are you going to continue to do this and make it so baller I'm going to be forced to get a tattoo?
No, I'm literally done when we stop recording. I just what am I going to do? Nothing?
I wonder if eventually, if we get to 100,000 people followers and we start moving up in this way.
Hey guys, Mama Drawk just committed to at 100,000 followers. By the way, I do need to find my Gear 5 costume because Mama promised, even though she promised for me. But Mama did just promise at 100,000 she has to get this as a tattoo.
Well, man, I didn't say that. I said if I would get one of these as a tattoo.
One of them. Yeah. Fair enough.
Because then I get to compare a bunch of different tattoos. That's a pretty glow. How does one make that?
Can I tell you my other belief about grading?
Yeah.
Above 100 has to be possible for it to be ethical, because 100 shouldn't be some abstract concept. It should be the best that can possibly be expected for where your education level is at. And if someone exceeds the best reasonable expectation, they should get over 100. That should be possible entirely, because literally it doesn't make sense otherwise. Like, you just say, okay, you do the absolute best of what's reasonably possible, and then beyond that is worthless. Nothing past the point of the best possible expectation that is reasonable matters. Above 100 has to be possible for a grading system to make sense, in my opinion. And it's not just extra credit. What if you handed an essay and it's like, hey, I'm teaching grade 8 English and you handed me like a university year 2 level essay? Giving that 100's an insult. That's my take.
We have something called exceeding expectations, and exceeding means that it was done beyond the grade level that the person was in. And that,
BC's education system's baller.
The work exceeded what was expected of a person at this stage of their education.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I gotta go. I gotta make permission forms. We're going to see a play.
You're going to see a play?
I'm taking children to see a theater.
To see a theater? All right, well, you should do that then.
People in it too.
Everybody, thanks for being here. Mama, thanks for being here. I am excited to go back through. I'm glad I had time to read after fishing a boy's tackle box out of my lake. Again, I want to point out, after being a 30-year-old man in full clothes walking into a lake, Drawk this morning was a 30-year-old man walking into a lake fully dressed. That was me today.
That checks out. That's your vibe, actually. That's how I think of you. And I contributed DNA to make you.
That's a thing you can say. Drawk had a drip this day. Nick Orion wasn't here earlier. My dog knocked a kid's tackle box into the lake and I had to go get it for him.
Dancing said it very nicely and I like it. That's raccoon girl DNA. That's what you got, Drawk.
Oh God, don't do this to me. All right, everybody. You know what? You know what I can confidently say? You know what I can say at the end of all this? At the end of all this nonsense we've been on together?
What?
At the end of the day, until next time.
Squish on squishies.
It's been lovely talking to you. Oh, hey, wow. Oak Tea's got a big stream today, guys.
Oh,
she got 100 people. Okay, everybody, guess the color of girl Oak Tea's drawing. Can you guess?
Pink.
You nailed it. It's pink.
Yeah.
She's drawing a pink girl. All right, bye, everybody.